good evening to one and all who are joined here. It really gives me a great pleasure inviting you to the GWFM Virtual Summit in association with NICE and this technology, this networks. Today, we have come to the stage where we're going to talk about managing the paradigm shift, which is need for the hour for today's topic. And we have eminent speakers, and we're going to have keynote speeches. Also, the panel discussions with veteran WFM folks here with us. And thank you so much for NICE and Waste Networks for taking part in this. As we're going to bring in a lot of insights and a lot of new ideas, and also going to share a lot of good takeaways where the audience could take the message forward, and it's going to be good learning for most of the audience. And in fact, we have got more than 250 audience register with us. Adopting your workforce management technologies and the practices to the new normal. In fact, in India, we witnessed that normal is a brand new normal from today. And also, let's start it. Every home is getting witnessed with the COVID and managing the organization, especially the business continuity management, and permanent workplace is becoming a home. And I see that like a lot of our speakers are going to give insights about this, and this is the need of our friends. So we have very eminent speakers today. Satya from AGS, and we have Abhishek from Sutherland, and Nadia from NICE Australia. And we have Uma Shankar from this, and we have Swapnil and Nimala and Siraj, really expressing the deepest gratitude for your time, availability, and taking time out to be present and share your thoughts and ideas on this. And let's have a great conversation forward. So before we move on, thought I will share that GWFM being we've been doing a lot of events and also like a lot of trends that we are setting up. And recently we have introduced the top 10 influencers in the global level. Also recently we have done hackathon. Now WFM folks are called hackers. So far that like only technical people were confined to, and now you see that like WFM folks are also called hackers. So we can do hacking of any problem, and this is what GWFM want to take the WFM industry to the next level. This is that process of bringing 100 people together and getting the ideas curated, and how they really worked on 48 hours of marathon hackathon to get the problem statement right, and getting the solutions hub and solving the business problem. That is something that GWFM has done phenomenally. First time in the global market. You're going to hear that sometime very soon. And we're going to release book and also videos on that very soon. And we have lined up a good number of events. In fact, our annual event is coming up in the next month, 26th and 27th of June. And we witnessed that last 2 years, NICE has been supporting us in the annual event. We're the first one to dedicate International WFM Professionals Day on the day of 27th. So we're going to do this. Last year we had thousands of WFM professionals participated in this. So this year we will have bigger crowd to celebrate this. Looking forward for this. So coming to agenda, so we have Satya's presentation, and then we're going to have Nadia's, and then Uma Shankar. Post which we're going to have Abhishek and our fellow panelists. We have all four of them. And we're going to open up questions at the end of every keynote speech. Audience, please join us on our social media and use hashtag GWFM and hashtag of the topic of the event. Okay. All right. So with this, I invite Satya. Satya, it gives us a great pleasure having you with us again today. Recently, we had you were judging during the hackathon that we conducted. To get to know for the audience and others, Satya has recently been promoted as Senior Vice President from Vice President, and he has been playing the global key role of WFM HGS. And recently, GWFM has witnessed Satyajit Chandra as one of the top influencers, top 10 influencers in the world. right? And Satya is going to share his insights and a lot of thought process about the topic. And let's hear from him without much delay. With this, invite Satyajit Chandra, Senior Vice President at Global WFM Head of HGS.
Hey, Shiva, thank you so much. Thanks for the introduction. Thank you for yet another very interesting event that you have organized. Let me get straight into the discussion here. So, we are discussing about the paradigm shift, right? And how we're adapting to the change and bringing in different technologies from a workforce standpoint. But before we get into that discussion, let's look at what is the shift that we're talking about. You know? Let's give it a second to think about what has actually changed here. And I've put something very, very basic here for everyone to go through it and understand. What you see on your screen is this was a situation pre-COVID. Uh, Only about 7 to 10% of the overall world's population was working from home. Now, these numbers could be slightly off, but this is based on all the different surveys which have been done by the Gallup or Abstract or different companies, but more or less about 7 to 10% of the population was working from home. This is pre-COVID. What changed? Almost 10x of that in a post-COVID environment. Now, this change is just an outcome of the pandemic. This change is not the problem because the change was anyway inevitable, right? If you look at it in the last 3 to 5 years, every organization was working towards optimizing it and looking at how we can get better, how do we bring in more technology and adapt to automation, right? So this change was anyway inevitable. If the pandemic would not have happened, I would imagine we would have anyway reached the situation in the next 5 to 7 years, 10 years at the most. But I think the challenge that we faced is because all of this got compressed into 3 or 4 months itself, which caught us all off guard. And that led to a lot of challenges there. And what are those challenges here? Here are some of the challenges that we're looking at, right? Unemployment, job cuts. We've seen several issues around that across industries. Uh, we support different industries in our own areas of influence, right? It's not just one industry that we support because our clients could be from travel industry, it could be tourism, it could be hotel industry. There's so many others that we've seen, manufacturing industry, retail, everywhere we've seen things went haywire. We've seen job cuts there. Other issues, people who were even ready to work did not have infrastructure to work from home or remotely. So that took us some time to organize our resources. Uh, Bullwhip effect, as you would know, in the supply chain environment, what the term refers to, even a small disturbance in the supply can lead to a significant dissatisfaction in satisfying the demands. So, a very common example, and I think we all would have gone through it, is you would remember almost about a year back when the lockdown was announced in most countries. Everybody was scrambling to stock up all the resources that they could because we didn't know for how long this lockdown would continue. Because all these the manufacturing had stopped, people were not working. There was not enough supplies coming in. So we faced that and we started stocking up things. So the demand was there, the supply wasn't there. On the flip side, if you look at it in the last 8 to 10 months, organizations, governments, their work together to ensure that the supplies are there. But the demand has come down now, uh, dominantly because of the first point itself. Not many people are working. Your unemployment has come down to a great extent in the last 12 to 14 months. So that disbalance has been created. This disbalance is across industries, across sectors. You name any sector, whether it's education sector, government jobs there, or real estate jobs. And everywhere you see that disbalance has been created. So, those are some of the challenges. All of this led to financial consequences, whether it is long-term consequences within organizations. People are not able to, retain employees. There are financial challenges. People are letting go of real estate. People are optimizing all the resources. So there are consequences related to financials there. Another very prominent phenomena that was observed during this pandemic was career attitudes, something which I think all of us may have seen in some of our colleagues or people close to us is people who were high flyers or go getters who were risk takers. They kind of slowed down. That eventually has kind of also slowed down the pace of the organization, the execution that they were managing, because they want to stay content with whatever has been there and continue with managing on the status quo, because we don't know what is going to happen in the next few months. So that is a significant change that happened in leading to the pace of the organizations in driving those initiatives that they're working on. Employee job insecurity. You would have seen a lot of people would be jumping ships during this pandemic period. Even the smallest of triggers could lead to people taking that jump and moving to different organizations if they're getting that because of multiple reasons, mostly related to financial reasons. And always the thought of that the grass is greener on the other side, which became even more prominent during this pandemic period. Employee engagement became even a bigger problem. And when you look at it, when you think about these challenges, I think we need to look at it from a global construct. We have to think it from across industries. All these things became even more prominent as a challenge, where it was difficult to reach out to your employees. So forget about engaging them itself. The other issue that we saw was around the compliance related items, where the compliance and regulatory requirements became even more important and prominent. These are some of the challenges which we all saw. We came across these, and the answer to all of these, and there could be a little, lot more challenges that people would have seen, but these are some of the ones which were very prominent across the globe, across geographies, across sectors or industries. Eventually, all of this boils down to only one thing, which is nothing but you're optimizing your resources and getting access to your resources. These resources, your definition of resources could change. It could be raw materials for somebody, it could be people for the other industry, it could be money for the or dollars for some other industry. But everything boils down to managing and accessing, having access to resources and optimizing those resources. This, while optimization of resources was always an important point, but this at this point of time, it became even more critical. And that's where I think where this whole group can come in and look at what do we bring to the table here from a WFM standpoint, from a as a WFM professional, what are the things that we bring to the table here? And what I'm going to talk about next in the next 5 to 7 minutes is things that we saw or I saw in my area of influence. Compressing all of these factors and challenges that we saw globally and bringing from funneling down into my area of influence or our area of influence and things that we could do differently. Here are some of those things. Your planning changed completely. It was no more related to how you would traditionally do it in a BPM or a BQ environment, if you look at it, or any other environment for that matter. If you look at your access to resources completely changed. Especially in geographies where work at home was not very prominent. For example, in Asia or India, if you look at it, or Philippines, if you look at it, or if you go a little further into Latin America, where work at home is not a very prominent feature. There, not only getting the person to work and be productive, your first task was to find where what are your catchment areas. Can you go tethered, untethered hiring? What does that mean? What does that do to your time to hire? Are you carrying people now longer for a longer period of time? What's the implication of that from a cost standpoint, right? Your assumptions to planning completely change because your productivity measures completely changed. While some of you would have seen in a typical planning, you would have seen that during this pandemic, your at least from my observations, we did see that your productivity has increased. Sorry, your shrinkages have come down, but your productivity may have come down a little bit because of, you have network issues or you have downtime issues and things like that. At least at the onset of when we had the pandemic coming in. So some of the other features which helped us in looking at, because you're short of resources, you got to be a little more creative in how do you utilize your resources. That gave the kickstart to, how do you do your flexible staffing, not only in evolved economies like a US or a Europe, but also started looking at other geographies on how you can come up with, flexible staffing, multiple jobs, skilling agents, reskilling of agents. Part-timers became even more important. Gig economy is anyway an evolving phenomena now. So all these things completely change from a planning standpoint. All these things you have to think through on how you want to bring it in, to optimize your resources. Uh, a lot of focus was put on adoption of automation of processes. While it was always there, and people and different organizations were working at a different pace, but the focus on that became even more prominent, and everybody started looking at how do we automate processes and reduce the waste that we have in our system today. The status quo was challenged by everybody in their own areas to see how do I manage this? What is the unnecessary stuff that we are doing? Can we let go of this? Because now I have limited resources. My financials are I don't have the luxury of managing it and looking at from a 5-year horizon. Now I've got to manage in the next 12 months of time frame. So those are the things that completely changed. Those are the things that we as an organization started focusing on. That's a common trend that I spoke to, and found out from most of the industry people that they were working on. Another thing that we saw was a change in the from a traditional support channel, which used to be the voice or the back office deferred media. Messaging has become even more prominent now. Whether you call it a text message or a social media message, that phenomena is coming up even more, uh, purely because you can have a single resource manage up to 8 to 9 different threads at the same time. So that has led to higher productivity measures there as well. So that's a change that we are seeing. A lot of clients are moving to that channel. Now, to when you move to that, obviously you need to have digital tools built around those to support your clients on messaging or SMS or any other omni-channel support that you want to provide them, which leads to other technical and sorry about that. That leads to other technical advancements that you have to have, which is integrating your WFM tools with the other digital tools that which are available in the market, like AWS or Twilios and things like that. So all those integrations became even more prominent and fast-tracked then. We started looking at other tools. Now we have tools which are AI-based tools to manage and monitor agents remotely, because the compliance requirements are even higher, especially in the BFSI or healthcare environment, where compliance is of utmost importance there. Uh, we started investing in AI-built based tools for agents to monitor on what kind of infractions they may end up with. So those tools, those integrations important became very important, and things that have been invested on as we progress on these. Self-paced learning is the other thing which has come up now. A lot of organizations are investing in portals where you can uh, learn different skills at your own pace, so that you can keep yourself upskilled and you can start managing more complex works and work of higher complexity from the nature standpoint. So those are some of the things that we have seen. I think all these things align to how the whole workforce is changing. We still don't know. At least I feel that we still don't know what's going to be the new normal. I think change is the new normal now, I would say. And we'll continue to evolve as we face new situations. But here are some of the things that we did. and continue to evolve and support our clients as well as situations to improvise from there on. So, with that, I would open this discussion and lead it to any other speaker who would want to talk about these things or have any questions. But, here are some of the things that we did to manage the shift and bring in all the technical changes that we could and improvise from a workforce standpoint. So I'll give a quick pause here for any questions, Shiva or anybody else, and then we can move on from there.
Sure, Satya. I'm just looking at if there are any questions from any of the audience. I see that Yogesh has a question. I'm just going to unmute Yogesh.
Hi, Satyajit. So thanks for this insightful presentation. Very, very insightful. Thanks for that. I had a quick question on the messaging and the other digital channels which you talked about. It's very interesting to see people moving due to the pandemic to the other channels. Could you please define, I mean, what kind of percentages or approximately the kind of your customers moving to the other channels besides voice, and what impact did it have on the voice channel? I mean, for example, before the pandemic, you had 70-80% on voice. What changes have, what percentage changes do you think the pandemic has made to this? Was my question.
Sure. So, you're right. Ballpark, you can take your voice, at least from my observations, used to be anything between 70 to 80% versus the rest of the channels, which usually used to be either your deferred media, which could be an email or a back office work. But messaging or social media, I would say, used to be very small, about 5 to 10%, or even within that range only. But what I've seen is that your messaging and especially SMS, I would say, uh, has increased. It is now significantly, in that consistently, I would say, not significantly, consistently in that double-digit figure, anything between 12 to 15%. I think this number would vary depending upon the portfolio or the type of clients that any organization is managing. If you have more of new age clients, you'll see this adoption would be much higher, and the volumes would be more towards your social media or messaging, versus if you have traditional BFSI or a healthcare clients which are still operating out of your old systems and CRMs. There you will see the shift isn't as much, but gradually they are also looking at digital channels to get support for the customers. But I would say at least in the last 12 months, what used to be a 5 to 7% is now easily ranging anything between 10 to 12%, 13%.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And do you believe this is going to stay for long, this trend, or it's just temporary?
No, I personally feel, my opinion, this trend is going to evolve even further. I think it is about the speed of each organization, how quickly they can adapt to it, because eventually your productivity and the ability to get back to your customers quicker is through messaging itself. Now that messaging could be either a bot-based messaging that you can have quick responses based on that, or you have a manual intervention sitting behind it to answer your messaging. This will definitely evolve, and this will continue to catch more volumes as we go further. I would imagine this to be sitting at least at about 20% in the next 18 to 24 months.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been really helpful.
Sure, thanks.
Do you have any more questions for Satya?
Well, if not now, I'm still here, so we can throw a
There's
question
one
at.
question. There's one question. Let's take this as the last question. Prabal Chatterjee. Prabal, you may ask questions now.
Okay, I have a quick question, sir. In your presentation, going through it, one point I'd like to bring up is we are all aware that, of course, varying from industry to industry, the productivity of the employee really went up during the move to work from home, right? And
Right.
to the organizations, it's just not the productivity. There are cost savings. Everything put together is very positive looking. Very small percentage of this, has visibly gone back to the employee. What is the trend on this? Do you think organizations have started recognizing this, and something will go back to the employees more than it has now?
When you say going back to the employee, can you specify that a little? Are you looking at giving it back to the employee in terms of any financial gains or
Right.
okay? So hard to or difficult to say any specific what has been the trend because all this depends upon several other factors. But yes, you're right. The productivity did go up. But it didn't go up from the onset, right? I mean, if you look at it, people were not prepared to work from home, especially in an environment where we come from, or at least in India or most Asian countries. In fact, we didn't even have measures to calculate productivity right from day one for an employee who works from home. Today, if you look at it, just an example, if you look at it, most organizations have a biometric or your employee ID card that you use to get into your company, and that starts your clock mostly. Traditionally, if you look at it, that's how it is in most organizations, most industries there. When people were working from home, now you don't have that measure also. So it was initially very difficult to even measure if the guy or your resource is actually delivering the number of hours that he should be and is he completing his workload or not. But as the companies have figured out a way, they have invested in those things, they've seen that yes, productivity has gone up. Now, whether that is being utilized to give it back to the employee or uh, in financial terms, or it could be in several other ways of looking at it, through, like I mentioned, providing uh, options to reskill and multi-skill the agents through a learning process or a long-term benefit. There could be multiple ways, but it is can't really put a finger on a particular trend and say yes, this is the trend and the companies are going to give more to their employees. I definitely would say it's a thought worth exploring on how we can engage the employees for a longer period of time, which doesn't always come with a financial benefit. So
Thank you.
kind of a gray answer, I would say, not a very concrete and definite one, but that's what I've usually seen.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I just wanted to put this on the table because I'm aware of a few facts where organizations and large ones, they've actually lost out on contracts. However, they have hit on the up in terms of overall revenue. So while they've lost contracts, their revenues have gone up. So I think that's something that we need to make a note of. I understand that in such a short time and things are so fluid, we can't take some concrete decisions. But I think going forward for this group, I think this is a point to be noted and kept in mind because after all, in many cases or in all cases, it's the employees who play a major role in what the organization is, right? So just wanted to put that on the table. Thank you.
Thanks, Prabhat.
Thank you.
There are a couple of more questions. What we will do is, since we have time constraint, we will park these questions and we'll get the answer from the speaker on this. We'll get the answer from Satya on this. Please type down your questions in the chat box. Rajesh, we'll come back to you on this. So with this, thank you so much, Satya, for taking your time out. Really great having you. It's been a great discussion and great topic and great insights from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Please stay back and watch out for other speakers. Okay. Thank you so much, Satya. Again, great having you with GWFM. Thank you. It's really great honor. With this, now I'll come to the next speaker, Nadia. Nadia, it's good to have you again
Hi.
with us.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your time.
All right. Great to have you with us, Nadia, again from NICE. In fact, GWFM and members have been hearing you and your insights and great thoughts from the WFM subject matter expertise point of view, also from a lot of new things what people get to learn every time that you come. There's something new from nice. Okay, this is exciting for all the audience and including me, that every time that new people have been disruptive and bringing in a lot of innovations, being a market leader. Good to have you with us again, Nadia. With this, I invite Nadia to be a second keynote speaker. Nadia, we have a poll questions at the point. We are not able to get all the questions, complete questions, but however, it's going to be up. When you're ready, let me know.
Mm-hmm.
You're the presenter now.
All right. So thank you, everybody, for joining this afternoon. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and to hear what's going on in workforce management throughout the region. It's certainly been a challenging time, and it certainly remains a very challenging time for all of us in different ways. I think if you think back to the end of last year, we sort of all had a thought that 2021 would come and a new year would bring. We were all very hopeful, and we can just see that that's not quite the case, and we're not quite out of the woods yet. So things have changed, things have shifted, and the intent of my session is to really talk through some different avenues that you have to help you manage the new paradigm, right? So we'll be looking, can I just ask someone to go on mute, wherever you are? We'll be looking at the WFM as a technology, and that's really important because the way we have the WFM architectured or deployed within our organization helps us to be agile and to scale and to move. We'll look at some of the WFM practices. What can we do as WFM practitioners to help manage the way that things are today, this constant state of change? And as was mentioned by our previous keynote, we'll be looking at digital channel management, because irrespective of COVID, if COVID never happened, the biggest shift in WFM has been the advent of new channels, right? We have more channels in the contact center than ever before, and that's been the single biggest disruptor probably in the last 20 years, really, when it comes to workforce management. So I always have this slide at the beginning of all my presentations. Anyone who's sat through one of my presentations will have seen me talk to this before. And if they're a customer of mine or we want them to be a customer, I still like to show this. And the purpose of this slide is to really be able to think about your own technology and think about your own practices and identify where you sit at various parts of this spectrum, right? And the reason that this becomes even more important today, because if you do want to be able to manage in an agile and swift and responsive way, then you need to start thinking about how do we get up into that leading space with our WFM, not only the kit that we have and the way that it's deployed, but the way that we use it. So if you look down in operating space, this is kind of where like a lot of contact centers were maybe 10 years ago. Some are still like this in various parts of the organization where it's voice only. They have the other channels, but they're forecasting for voice only. I see so many customers like that. And they go on about forecast accuracy. Forecast accuracy is so important, but they're missing so much, right? So it doesn't matter if the voice forecast is so accurate because you're missing the other 40% of workload, right? So I see a lot of this. No self-service for the employees. And employees are more important than ever before. Maybe they're at home, maybe they're depressed, they're scared. We spoke earlier on the keynote about churn, where they're looking for other opportunities or they've been let go. So how do we love them and bring them into our process and make them want to stay? And this is through things like self-service, right? So have a think about your own practice, your own technology. Where do you see yourself and where do you want to get to? And this is they say that word journey. This is a journey. When we speak to a lot of different customers across many verticals, we'll help them. So here's what we want to achieve for the first 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. And it does take time to come up to there. But the purpose of this slide is to get you thinking about how much better it could be, and what would it take to sort of get us there. So it's a bit of a like nirvana, if everything, we could do everything and improve all our processes, we'd be up in that leading space. And I don't think I've been to a business who has everything in there. There's always room for improvement, but it's good to have that picture in your mind. So let's talk about the technology. And this is interesting because I'm sure I have a lot of WFM people on the call who are WFM practitioners. We are forecasters, we're schedulers, we might be real-time analysts and things like of that nature. And so you might think, I don't care about technology too much, but it is important to us because what we've seen a lot in the last year is customers who quickly we've had two scenarios. One is the customer who quickly needs to burst up. And we literally had people coming to us and say, I need 1,000-seat contact center set up by next Tuesday. What are we going to do? And so those people need to be able to ramp right up. And then I've had the people who've come right down. Okay, people maybe in retail, hospitality, travel have gone the other way. I need to, what can we do? We're paying maintenance, right? How do we stop this? So it does impact the way you can execute on a strategy is how you have your WFM deployed. So what am I going to talk about? Cloud, right? If you haven't got your WFM in a cloud, you need to start thinking about what is my investment in whatever technology you have, what is my investment in this, and what is my strategy for the next 2 years? Do I really want to keep adding costs of hardware to the operating cost of this WFM? What is the future of this WFM? Because we get a lot of customers who still want to, for example, put integrations onto their premise WFM. They want to expand. They can't procure servers. They can't provision what they need to. And it's very cumbersome to them, and it stops them from being agile. Of course, you get all the business benefits, evergreen, upgrades, scalable, all those things that I'm talking about. And reduce risk because you have uptime SLAs, which your vendor will be responsible for maintaining. So WFM of all of the products probably in your enterprise is the one that's most suited to cloud, right? If you think about it, we have no credit card informations, we have no agent, no customer sensitive data, no PCI compliance or anything like that is necessary for us. So if your enterprise is thinking about moving to the cloud, WFM is often the great place to start. We are seeing fantastic traction on cloud in India, which is great. Australia, for example, has always wanted to go cloud. They do that without blinking. And in the last year, we're just seeing great inroads in India as well, which is fantastic to see. So that's something that you need to have in your mind is moving to the cloud. The advantages, of course, include things like better disaster recovery, capabilities. You have a consumption-based model for the licensing, high availability, and all of those things. And again, it's really sort of future-proofing your WFM and giving you the ability to just turn it up and turn it down as you need. And given that things shift, and I mean, that's the theme of today's presentation is things shifting and how do we manage? The technology component has to form a key part of your strategy when it comes to managing change. So this is something to think about. If you are on a premise system, have a look at your renewal. What are you going to do? And, start thinking about that cloud strategy. I'd also like to talk about WFM practices because there are some tips or tricks, but there are some approaches you can take to help manage things at this time. I think it's an interesting time for WFM practitioners. I don't think I've ever seen a more important time to get it right and to be valuable to your organization. If you've been someone who's just pumping out schedules and it's the same schedules and the same forecast and you just add some breaks to it, I think if someone in the operation was to come to you and say, I want to see 4 different strategies, if all these different scenarios played out, this is where people are getting caught short, right? Because they don't know how to use WFM strategically. They've actually been using it as a time and attendance, which has a place, but it's not strategic, right? It doesn't help the business make decisions, and that's what we're all about. We're about being the trusted advisor in the organization. That operations come to us and say, the sky's falling in. What does that mean? And we should be spinning up scenarios and doing smart things with WFM. So let's have a look at some ways to help you drive that. Managing change. So be consistent. Now, what this was about, and I've condensed this down because I don't have a lot of I could talk to you for hours, but today I've got a short space of time on this, so I've condensed it down. So be consistent was about if you have a workforce that's now dispersed, right? They're sitting all over the place. Maybe operating hours have changed or whatever it is. Try and maintain cadence around things like the team meetings, the coaching, the one-on-ones. So it's really important that all that doesn't fall by the wayside. Again, this is really important for the employee engagement perspective, and that's for me, that's the heart of what I bring to WFM is how can I be the smartest I can be with the resources I have and make people love working here, right? So things like making sure their coaching they don't see it and then you cancel it, or they don't see a team meeting, oh, team meeting cancelled again. Try and do what you can to maintain the consistency for those people so they have a sense of routine. Even though the world's going crazy, they know at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday, it's going to be the team meeting and it's going to happen and we're going to be committed to that, right? Because that is like a touch point. And even in our own lives, when things go crazy, small act of routine can help maintain a sense of calm, right? Open communication. Now, this is so interesting, right? Obviously, we've all been living through COVID for like 14 months, right? No, or whatever it is. And at the start, everyone was like, "Oh, communicate, have a Zoom call, have all these extra calls." Now, even in my own life, right? Our team sales meetings went from 1 meeting a week to 3 meetings a week. I have to dial into this meeting 3 times a week. It's tripled, right? So what we're seeing in Australia, what we're seeing is that the employees through the unions have complained, and now the employees are demanding a right to disconnect. So this is important to start thinking about this. Are you taking this too far and bothering people? What is the right strategy for communication, right? And because people are getting fatigued now, we've been in this paradigm for 13, 14, 15 months. So do you need to revisit the way you talk to people? Are you just annoying them? They had enough. I personally don't think I need 3 team meetings a week, but there you go. Forecast early and often. I don't need to tell you this. You should be doing this, right? You should have a range of forecasts. But what we're saying here is if you're and I spoke to a person yesterday who only forecasts 2 weeks at a time. People still do this, right? And that bothers me because it means the forecast isn't worth anything, right? You don't believe in it so much, you're only doing 2 weeks and you're probably doing it just to tick a box. So forecast early and often, yep, good forecasts, accurate forecasts, and they mean something, and people look at them and the people react to them and people plan around them. So people are seeing them. They're not just something you do on a spreadsheet, okay? Expect the unexpected. I don't even know what to tell you about that. Things can change, right? That's the whole point of this. And then turn on a dime is the ability to what's that? I think I read a thing like Bruce Lee or somebody said, be like water. And I think for us, that's what we have to be like, right? Is the ability to say, we had a plan and we had a strategy and it was going to be this, but now it's not. We're not going to die by this plan. We're going to understand when it's a smart time to change, right? So be like water and you'll be good. So a little bit on scheduling. Right? Scheduling is just, I think being a scheduler in a contact center is my favorite WFM job. Of all the WFM, this is more, I like this more than forecasting, right? Scheduling is far more, it's like you're juggling all of the balls and it's, you get to be a little bit creative. So scheduling reimagined, like what if we, maximize the agent view of the schedule, right? We're talking about managing a new paradigm, giving the agents more way to see the schedule. Maybe it's a mobile device, it's a web portal, perhaps you're using Excel before. So really increasing the ways that they can interact with the schedule. What if we provided the agents with greater options? So let's think about people who are now working from home and don't have to commute. What does that mean for preferences, for example? What does that mean for the length of their shifts if your employee award or contract allows for changes to shift duration, okay? Can we do different things with lunch breaks? Can we go tea break, lunch break, or switch them around somehow to be more creative, because we now have that new paradigm of people working all over the place. They don't physically have to get to a location, so that opens up a range of options that perhaps weren't there before. Made our agents WFM partners and self-service kind of go hand in hand, and this is really important. It's so easy, but it brings so much value. So giving the agents the ability to nominate their preferences, I prefer a late shift, early shift, I prefer early lunch, late lunch, stuff like that, they're far more likely to come and work the shift if they've had some buy-in to it. If they can swap it with somebody else, for example. And it sounds basic. It's been around for a long time, but a lot of companies aren't using self-service fully. They're either scared or they've tried it didn't quite work. The WFM that they have maybe doesn't support the business rules that they want to apply. It's perhaps a little bit rudimentary. So they turned it off. And I think it's time to revisit that and try and promote that. What if you gamified your schedules, right? We have a game in our scheduling tool where you can pick up points because you've made yourself available on least desirable shifts. And then you use those points once you work the shifts to build your own schedule in future, stuff like that. So the more agents can see, the more they can be involved, the happier they're going to be, the happier they'll be to customers, they're less likely to ring up sick, they're less likely to churn, like the benefits are just endless. And all this stuff is so, so easy. It really is. And if you have tried some of this and maybe it didn't work for you, I really encourage you to go back and give it a go. If any of you have come from being an agent, and I have, and this is why I speak to it so passionately, right? When they can do these things, when they're empowered to do these things, it really does make a difference. So have a think about yourself as an agent and how you felt and how you think you can use your WFM to improve that. So this is easy wins here. And finally, digital channel management. So as I said, like I've probably been around contact centers over 20 years now. I'm quite old, right? And this has been the biggest change, bar none, has been this, right? And so the shift in channels has just been, it's exploded with all these different ways to contact us that never existed before. So I have a poll. And it's a little guessing game just to make sure I haven't lost you and that everyone's still with me. So according to the NICE in Contact Customer Experience Transformation Benchmark, 2020 saw an increase in digital interactions, right? We all sort of agree, and it was mentioned before that we're seeing an explosion in different channels. Out of 1,000 customers we surveyed, what percentage do you think experienced an increase in digital interactions in 2020? Poll is open. So is everybody able to, can I just ask the organizer is everyone able to vote or?
Yeah, 34%. Guys, can you go on?
Yeah, we'll
Please.
just give it another minute.
Yeah, sure. 41%. Great going.
Great going.
Good going. 43%, 45, 52.
Come on, guys.
Great. 61%. Okay. Great.
Okay.
Get going, and I will give a few more seconds. 65%.
Few more seconds, yeah.
70%. Wonderful.
Wonderful, yeah.
71%. Great going. 3 more to go, please. 73%. 75. Okay. 5 more seconds to close the poll. Please go on.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How do we go?
80%.
There we go.
Fantastic.
Well done.
That's
And I can't see the the results?
Can see the result now.
I cannot. Can you read them to me, perhaps? I don't want to waste too much. I don't want to spend too
Yeah.
much time trying to figure it out. How do we go?
Yeah, 4% of them are saying that 18 percentage.
Mm.
Okay, and B, that is A, okay, which I told you 18%, whereas people say that 4% of it. Okay, and
Yeah.
second one is 29% of people say that for the 42
Yep.
percentage. Okay,
Yep.
and for the C, 62% of people say that right one, C. Okay,
Yep.
62%, and D, 31%. Okay, 5%.
Okay.
5% of folks have chosen D. I see that majority
Well,
of it is C.
correct. So all the people who participated, firstly, thank you, and everyone who chose C. Excuse me, you're correct. So it was a massive 62% of out of 1,000 customers have seen an increase in their digital interactions, so a lot. So digital channels, so the way people work has really changed, and I'll just move through this a little swiftly. So what you're seeing here is a mock-up really of an agent's day spread across their shift. So you can see the agent starts their day with an email that comes in. They are on a break at some point. They move to social media. Sorry, I'm seeing this on 3 different screens. Sorry, and one's behind the other. So they have different types of work. So we spoke about messaging before, right? How the explosion of messaging is really being quite prevalent, particularly in the last year or the last couple of years. And so what you're seeing on this timeline is really not that exotic. Maybe a couple of years ago, 5 years ago, we go, oh, look at that. And now we all know that people work like this, right? This is not so unique anymore. This is quite blended. So this person starts with an email, then they're on some sort of chat. The chat has interrupted the email. They're on different messaging, then they send an email out, then they're on voice calls. Some interactions cause an elevation to the next one. And then they have their break and so on, and then they're dedicated for a period of time. So this is kind of the new paradigm really when it comes to working. Pretty much the agents are going to be taking multiple types of channel. So DCM, the acronym there, is referring to digital channel management. So what we've seen in the marketplace is for people who have tried this, different WFM vendors, that they're not quite getting it right, and this is leading to some customer dissatisfaction, particularly around the setup, where the setup of something like this is quite complicated, that the calculations are not quite right, that there's averages of averages and things like that in some of the approximations. Doesn't really understand the unique behavior of asynchronous or the elevation from one type of contact to another. And doesn't really do the multi-skilling across multi-sessions or multi-channels very well. So it's highly inaccurate for skill-based routing, which is a problem for us because people are pretty much multi-skilled all the time. If it happens to be different channels, then that's just the way it is. So that's overly simplistic and not really yielding the results that it should. So before we wrap up today, and Dr. Shiba mentioned that NICE continues to disrupt and be innovative, and I love those words because they do. Towards the end of this year, we're just going to change the game when it comes to digital channel management. This is going to be part of our license for all our WFM customers who upgrade. They're going to get this as part of their upgrade to 7.4. And what we're doing, we already have machine learning. We already support different channels. We already do backlog management. You can do emails, chats, and things like that. But we are just going to expand our capability far beyond that. We've invested many, many, many hours and people of R&D into bringing digital 2.0. So our customers will be able to use the in-focus AHT of a contact or the elapsed. So if you think about a message, is the AHT when I'm messaging backwards and forwards, and that's it, or which is the in focus, or is it the elapsed? Is it from the first message to the final message which could go over a long time, right? Hours and hours or days. They'll be able to set up channels, social, co-browse, etc. We'll be able to define interruptibility matrices. So our customers will be able to say, now a phone call will always interrupt an email, but a chat will never interrupt a phone call, for example, right? They'll be able to model all of that out. We'll be able to provide employee-specific concurrency limits, but also channel concurrency limits. So a chat could only ever have up to 5, but I'm new, so I only ever take 2 chats at a time, and then my concurrency will increase as my proficiency increases. We'll have very, very specific and correct algorithms in our simulation to understand multi-skill efficiency across the channels, but also multi-session efficiency. So all that is coming towards the end of this year. We're very excited, and then we have an even higher phase of sophistication with digital, which will be coming next year, which is 3.0. So we're very, very excited. All our customers are very excited, and we think this is going to really close a gap in the market and give people the right tools for the job when it comes to digital channel management. And that concludes my session on technology, practices, and digital. So thank you so much for your time. I'll probably just see, Dr. Shiva, are we doing questions, or let me know what you want to do next?
Yeah, Nadia, we have one question.
Sure.
What role do you think voice will continue to play in future?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So I think with voice, it will always be. I think the amount of voice interactions will decrease as self-service gets more sophisticated. So with self-service, we're seeing still a lot of chatbots, for example, or chat sessions that quickly escalate to a voice call because the level of service from the bot or whatever the interaction is not quite meeting the demands of the customer. So there's a high amount of escalation. But I think as that's the sophistication of the bots and the user experience, chatting with them gets better. I think that voice will still play a part, but definitely by the time it gets to the voice, that the interaction volume will shrink, but the AHT will probably continue to increase because they are really out of options now, and it may be a very complicated matter that's come to the contact center. I hope that's addressed the question.
Absolutely. Right, Nadia, thank you so much for being there and taking time out to present. Great learning, new stuff from NICE. Thank you so much for being there. So we will move on to Umashankar now. Thanks, Nadia. Please stay back.
Thank you.
Good to have you, Uma, with us. So now we have the third speaker, Umashankar. Great to have you, Uma, with us today. In fact, to talk about Umashankar, Uma is based out in Bangalore in India, and he is the CEO of VIS Networks, a telecom industry veteran with more than 2 decades of experience. Has been instrumental in setting up technologies for the largest outsourced and captive contact centers in the country and managed global infrastructures. Uma was formerly heading customer support in Avaya Global Connect in India, and he was looking after technology solutions in UC and CC space. Leads the dream team in VIS Networks, a go-getter, a strong implementer by nature. He believes in bringing value change in every task that he brings onto the team. In fact, as a CEO of VIS Networks, leading the team of more than 600 people who have contributed to get 40 million US dollars turnover in financial year 2019 and 2020, and a record of 20% of growth year on year. Being a technology thought leader, he still loves to encourage young minds to explore more and invent and innovate, having managed large global infrastructures. Now envisions VIS to be a truly global entity, expanding the existing offices and partners across the world. With this, I invite Umar Shankar, the CEO of VIS Networks. Happy to have you with us, Umar. First time we are having you in GWFM.
Yeah, thanks, Shiva. Thanks for your introduction. I think we'll go. And good morning, everyone. And there's a different geography, so good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome and thanks for joining the session. And this is a joint session between NICE and VS. As I mentioned in the profile, I just don't represent VS, but NICE also. I can say that as far as customer goes, because we always will stand together with NICE and VS gone as one entity to customer. NICE is a very strategic and supportive partner to VS since our inception in 2011. We started in 2011. From that day, we are collaboratively engaged with NICE for all our solutions. I thank NICE again for providing an opportunity to partner them in bringing together with great audience. Simply put it across, what is VS? VS is a global leader in tech system integration, and we are very reliable and flexible partner to customers and OEMs. I can say both of. Some of the times not only customer and OEMs, but I can say we are flexible and very closely working with all customers and OEM, especially in the contact center domain and across all the platform. Not only the one platform I'm talking, but it's across all the platform like Avaya, Cisco, Genesis, and also I can say that in geographies also we are globally present, and specifically we are present in India, Asian, Middle East, Australia, and UK. There we have direct presence, and other places we'll work through our partner. And we are mainly into the collaboration contact center. These are two large pillars for our business. Along with that, we have adequate strength in networking and security and audiovisuals. And top of that, I can say that proudly that we have fantastic software practice, which is providing a cutting edge in the marketplace by bridging the gap between the standard products and the customer business needs. So we have small applications, so we can plug in between the standard any products with customer demands. It will always enhances us to ability to provide the solution end to end. And our focus is always on customer experience, customer delight, and so we choose our partner also such a way that they value the similar values in building the product and services. And I prepared a small deck. Before that, I'll run through one small video. The video is a journey of VIS.
In a globally connected world, the demands of continuous communication available on different emerging platforms is a challenging necessity. In the year 2011, a team of 5 expert professionals accepted this challenge and began an incredible journey from an office in Bangalore. This was the advent of VIS Networks that began a revolution in the field of enterprise communication and technology, and is today a dedicated team of more than 200 dynamic professionals. VIS Networks has established its prominent position by providing enterprise communication solutions and contact center infrastructure services to some of the largest corporations and BPO organizations across the world. VIS provides end-to-end communication solutions that include voice, data, video, contact center solutions, customized applications, and specialized training. VIS has become the go-to provider by offering a vast range of efficient services by building strong and reliable partnerships with leading industry experts. VIS offers a one-of-its-kind specialized training on Avaya solutions for enterprise customers and students that can be accessed worldwide by logging into the cloud-based training lab. A young, passionate team of highly certified professionals with technological expertise across various platforms is strongly motivated to ensure the highest standards of quality and efficiency. The extremely low attrition rate is a reflection of the VIS team's unflinching enthusiasm and commitment. VIS believes in total commitment to customer services. By forming strategic partnerships with top OEMs internationally and investing in a well-equipped inventory, VIS has eliminated any risk of delay in project development or disruption in operations to ensure SLAs and customer commitments are never compromised. To guarantee 100% commitment to customer support, the 24/7, 365-day VIS ticketing and multi-channel customer support systems ensure that no customer call or service request is ever missed. VIS has a prominent presence across all Indian metros and major cities and is now expanding its global presence. The success story of VIS comprises of several Fortune 100 companies. Come and be a part of this journey into the future of advanced technology and consistent, boundless communication. VIS has formed strategic partnerships with some of the best-in-class solution providers worldwide. One such valuable partner is NICE Systems. By becoming a global service partner for NICE, VIS has achieved tremendous success on implementing and supporting NICE for leading global organizations across verticals like finance, IT, and BPO services. The successful journey of VIS and NICE continues to provide a range of impactful services using collaborative expertise.
That's about the VIS. We'll come to the presentation.
Thanks for watching video. This is all about VIS journey. And I'll give this brief introduction of VIS. And if you see, we are unique and effective and reliable communication solution provider in global. I can say that we started in Bangalore around 2011 and spread across all the geographies now. And we can see that we are now capable to consult, design, implement, train, support end-to-end to the customer. And we'll normally work with customer from the day one of the RFP. If they're supporting any customer, their customer, we'll able to design and consult and everything we can able to do it to them. And what is the advantage that we are also doing the white label of services to some of the customers. Some of the customer want to represent in their name, so we normally send our consultant, they'll go and present, they'll do end-to-end. So one of the example that one of our consultant has represented on large enterprise customer, and if they want to US and represent it and build the solution and given to them, and we won the thing. So we are able to end-to-end, we are able to deliver support services, everything. And I'm going to take the next slide. And if you see that we are expertise in all the areas, I can see that. One is the unified communication and enterprise communication and contact center solution. They're our specialist area. And we are also in audio, video, and application. This is one of the area we are more focused on that. I'll take some more time on that in the next slide. And as networking, automation, and managed services also we are in. And if you see that we are all completed 10 years now, and we are last year revenue 40 million, and due to pandemic situation, we are last year reduced to 5 million. So we are able to say that we have done 35 million this year, last year, in spite of COVID. and we have more than 500 professionals across all the places in India, Singapore, and other locations. And if you see other places, some of the places we are not able to expand our reach. So what we've done that we are partnered with some of the partners outside US, and we are trying to build our application, sell it to them. And I can say that we can globally support any customer. See, around 4 to 5 years back, what we realized that all the OEMs moving towards the software solution rather than the hardware footprint. So they started selling the solution instead of box selling product. So what we realized that it will take a long way to build application and take it forward. So what we have done, we have built a team in Bhubaneswar. They started building all the small application in around contact center. And if you see most of the standard OEM, they're able to give particular solution to you, but customer may face small gaps in between, and there's a pain area some of the point. For example, take it's a reporting. Reporting is one of the key to all the customers as well as their business. They want to bill it to the customer. And what will happen if you see the any platform, the different component in around it. For example, ACD, IVR, reporting. So they're not able to get unified reporting all over. So what we decided, let us build application such a way that it will take the lead from all the component and build one unified reporting and give to customers. And most of our customers appreciated this effort, and we have got good business with reporting thing. And similar to the agent desktop, see some of the places you're able to see that they're only using the CRM and as well as ACD. They have used a different screen for their agent. So what we done, we built such application to only one screen can be seen, and agent can use very well on that front. Similarly on the automation, so some of the L1, L2 jobs, example I'm giving it, it's very difficult to monitor by a lot of resources required. So we have done small automation on that. It will take all the L1s and what any issues on the system, it will immediately report to the customer and try to address their problem. And other application like IVR, CSAT survey and callback manager, these are all small application. Normally, it's well with customer requirement, and we are able to give full-fledged solution to them. And also for recording and WFM solution, we are totally depend upon NICE, and we are providing end-to-end recording and WFM solution through NICE. And if you see that CRM connector, this is one I want to take one or 2 minutes more in the next slide. You'll explain in detail what all the CRM connector and how it will work for all the customer of ours. Yeah. So we call this, this is beyond is what we have branded thing. This is, I can say, the flagship product, which has found tremendous traction in the market. And people are appreciated and accepted this product. And this is nothing but it will give the connect between the CRM and all the ACD or other product. And if you see that this is as of now we are given the on-prem premises, and now we have built the product such a way that we can go for cloud. With the ability to integrate with ACD and CRM would become easier and seamless. And then no point of taking double screen or the agent want to go to salesforce.com on the CRM, or they want to go to the ACD. That all the problems addressed in this CRM connector. And we are continuously adding ACD CRM into the platform. They are creating a possibility of offering of self connectors, which will cut down the turnaround time to the customer. And one of the important I can tell you that we are done along with NICE also. One of the strategic customer, we have integrated with NICE with ServiceNow, that one of the CRM. and deployed is underway and for one more customer. And we are building such a connector for Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, Zoho, and it's all the ACDs like Avaya, Cisco, Aspect, Asterix. We have built a connector on that. This is one of the best product I can say in VIS. And if you see that from last 2 to 3 years, there is immediate shift on the customer to move into the cloud. And what we decided that is better to build our own solution and to realize our to get into the cloud opportunity. And we have worked on multiple solutions that can be offered from cloud. And a couple of them are in this slide. I can show to you. One is C-Cube and Radius. C-Cube is nothing but a cloud CC with an architecture component with regulations in India. See, because of the regulations of India, it's very difficult to get into cloud. So what you decided to build in-house in India with all the regulations are met. This is a omni-channel platform backed by skill to integrate with third-party solutions by VS Professional Services team. And this is built from the standard OEM product, CQ. And if you see the Radius, this is our own product. We are developed our own product on cloud. This is our is on CC platform offered on cloud, which would transform a standard in premises voice-based ACD to offer multimedia capabilities. It have all voice, chat, SMS, and we are also working with social media on this. Radius offers an opportunity to move your CC to omni-channel platform without any forklift, offering full investment protection. We can able to give the full investment protection on this. We are very confident on this product and impact on the market. We are taking to the market very soon. So let me talk about our capability on NICE WFM implementation. We are closely associated with NICE and build a lot of solutions and provided to the customer. I can say some of the customer segments are the service providers, contact centers, BFIs, BFSI customer, the banking and financial institute, and the CC or BPO contact centers. With the help of NICE, we are able to build a solution to them and give a WFM solution, and we are able to give show the lot of ROI to them. And we have our own team. We have implemented most of our solution with our own team with help of NICE. And currently, I think a couple of project is going on. So I want to take a couple of case studies what we have done with our customer. Let me go to the couple of case studies with one or two or three customers. Yeah, one of the customer, I can say that one of the major bank in India, there are a lot of challenges in their operations. Okay, they don't know how to, especially on the operation time. And that's a key thing that they want to schedule the thing between 8 to 8 p.m. or 24/7. So what we done, we are along with NICE, we have built a solution around 2 to 3 years back, and we are implemented using NICE IEX 6.3 implemented and complete build of the solution with along with Aspect as a ACD. And if you see that they have more than around 800, 700 agent. So we are able to fulfill their requirement, and ROI also met with this customer. And they are very happy about our solution along with NICE. They appreciated our effort. One of the contact center BPO. The challenge is here because of everything it is getting into cloud. They want to integrate with cloud. The issue is with network connectivity. You know, the cloud some of the times network connectivity and security policies. And we understand their challenges. Mainly they want to scheduling methodology to use it, and also periodic schedule to bid, and also depend upon the seniority performance, they want to give the assignment or schedule to them. So we are able to build a solution to them. We have worked with NICE and given nice EX R7 as a product, and we are able to build totally. This is not in India. This is international customers, so we are able to build end-to-end to them, and we are able to deliver on time to the customer. And I'll go to the next slide with one more case study. That is our international service provider in India. This is one of the largest service provider to India, and they want to give their WFM instances to all their customers. What we have done that we understand their what all requirement, whether they want skill based or they how to handle the different type of contacts, and agents are cross-trained. Depend upon the requirement, we are able to schedule and build a setup for them. And again, we are used nice IEX 6.3. This time we are integrated with Cisco platform. And since it is a cloud, I think we are able to, again, this network and security issues are that we are overcome all these things, and we are able to give the better solution to the. I'll stop here. Thanks for your time and joining this session. If you have any questions or input, any suggestion, you can raise here, or you can send it to me, or you put in chat. I'll try to address that. Shiva.
Thank you so much for your insightful presentation. I mean, I'm sure that all the fellow colleagues who have joined are impressed with the kind of case studies that you have presented, and very detailed learning more about VIS networks. It's really great insights as far as the technology solutions is is concerned. Great to have you with us, Uma.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Shiva, any question to get it addressed or?
Sure. Do we have any questions for Uma particularly? Can you have the hands raised? I don't see any questions as of now. Okay. If there are any questions, I'll circle back with you, Uma, on the questions, and I'll let you know. Yeah, let you know.
Once again, thanks everyone. Thanks, Shiva. Thanks, nice team for all their support. Thank you.
Wonderful having you with us. Thank you. Okay, stay back with us, for the next session. Okay, the next session is going to be exciting. I think all the team and the audience is so excited to listen to the Galaxy App speakers again. The roundtable is going to be moderated by Abhishek. Abhi, what we can do is we can kickstart with the conversation. In the meantime, I'll just get the slide up so that we would have everyone in the meantime. Yeah. So with this, what I will do is, before we move on, I'll just introduce Abhishek. Abhishek is a known speaker. In fact, he's been speaking in GWFM for some time, and very good insights that we keep. Abhishek is the global WFM leader of Sutherland's. He has got a big team globally to manage, and Abhi has recently been encouraged his team to participate in the hackathon, and he was able to really make a difference, where his team, two of his team members who got global icon award, coming out of it, a very disruptive ideas and also business solutions. It's really great to have you with us, Abhi, again.
No, so it's indeed a pleasure, Shiva. Thank you very much for having me. And as always, it's a pleasure to interact with the WFM fraternity. And I think today it's even more special because I also get to pick the brains of some of the brightest in the fraternity. So welcome everyone, and thank you for having me here as well, Shiva. So I won't labor too much because I'm very keen to dive into some of the discussions with my fellow panelists. But I'll just set the context on what is it that we are gathered here for, and what is it that we can look at establishing within the next 35 to 40 minutes on the paradigm shift, right? So we're talking about what really has happened over the last year and a half, and we're looking at how is it that the landscape has really changed. And these were the four elements I thought I could cover, and not necessarily they are only within my organization, but I just wanted to bring out how it is overall changing in the industry, and how is it that WFM can really play a key role and a front leading role in sort of metamorphizing some of this change and being the center of it. So four different areas which I really thought were really important in terms of where we are looking at the shift. There could be definitely more than this. I'm not taking away from that. But these four are, I suppose, the most crucial and something that we've seen the maximum disruption as well. So first is client strategy. Today, I think given whatever has happened, the first and the foremost requirement of any customer or client that we've seen is uninterrupted high quality service, which could be powered by way of future proofing and providing some really strong BCP solutions, right? How can WFM help in that? By unleashing its digital weaponry as such, right? So we're looking at some things which are already in place, and we're also looking at something that could be futuristic and can help us deliver some of those requirements. We've already heard Nadia, we've already heard Umashankar on some of the solutions that digital companies like theirs have aligned. What we're looking at is, sophisticated routing. We're looking at some kind of digital weaponry, which I spoke about. So today, if there are different business models, how are we going to intersperse between them? So we're looking at work from home. We're looking at hybrid kind of models. We're also looking at some element of brick and mortar. How do we move around with them, right? How do we, if let's say a particular aspect is down, how do we seamlessly move the entire customer demand to the other? And that is the sophisticated routing mechanisms that I'm talking about. Second thing I think the clients need is extreme deep insights from on behalf of their customers. How have they changed? How has their behavior patterns changed? How is it that they would like to be contacted? How is it that they are contacting us? What is the kind of platform that they're choosing? Is it moving from voice? We heard Satya talk about that as well earlier. We heard how Nadia spoke about some of the different aspects of these platforms coming into play. So it is really about the kind of leverage that we can have towards the shifting platform preferences, and that is the entire channel shift model. And again, like I said, WFM is extremely well poised to be able to tap into that and look at some kind of forecasting methodologies, sophisticated forecasting methodologies. We already have AI-based forecasting models which tell us, look at the kind of data that we have at our disposal and look at how is it that customer now prefer being contacted. Yeah, is it via voice? Is it via chat? Is it via other digital aspects? And so on and so forth. Obviously, social media is playing a maximum role as well now and as we go ahead also. So that's about the overall client strategy, and accelerated digitization is at the center of it all. Moving ahead, looking at the 3 o'clock in that model, business models, right? What are the kind of business models that we're looking at? So obviously we spoke about, and we all know about the changing model of work from home. We're looking at the hybrid models, the kind of adoption rates of the varied business models as well. Clients are also looking at how best that they can have their revenue safeguarded. They're looking at gain sharing some of the kind of benefits that are coming through, especially via the WFH or the work from home models, and they're looking at how they can share gains. The other aspect that we're looking at very prominently, or with being a bit predominant, is the customers wanting to de-risk, the clients wanting to de-risk their entire operation, right? So they're doing it via increasing the platform that customers can contact them from. They're also looking at a multi-vendor kind of a strategy to be able to de-risk. They're also looking at de-risking from certain geographies as well. So they don't want all their eggs in one basket, but they want to spread it around as well, so that they have the continual delivery that we always talk about. So that's the other business model that we're talking about. Obviously, what it means is robust supply chains, or just establishing robust supply chains, which means we always have the supply chain to match the kind of demand that the customers are seeing from their customers, right? So that's something that WFM plays a very pivotal role in, and resource planning and staffing is one of the most primary aspect of service that WFM offers. And we're also looking at how this entire platform is getting digitized as well. So no longer, this kind of information is supplied in copious amount of spreadsheets, but it's actually a digitized platform that leaders can avail of, including the clients as well, and be able to benefit from it. And also it provides them a space for leadership and decision making. Let's see the 3 o'clock model over here, and talking about workforce. What's really happening is there's a whole explosion of gig economy, right? So they're talking about part-timers. We're talking about work from anywhere models. People wanting respite from some of the burnouts. We're talking about a no longer 9 to 5 kind of a business model as such, right? So it's completely different in terms of, and I think that's where the maximum disruption that we have envisaged. So we heard Nadia also speaking about how scheduling becomes one of the most primary and important aspect in this particular delivery of service offerings. And this is where I think some of those aspects come in, right? We're looking at cloud-hosted solutions. We're looking at schedules getting to people in a much more sophisticated manner. They don't have to literally come and have a conversation and look at copious spreadsheets to understand what shifts are they doing. But all of that has now got digitized. They can now look at their schedules via their handheld devices, and they can access apps to understand the entire schedule as well. This entire gig economy, or this entire aspect that we're looking at in terms of introducing some of these solutions, and this exactly comes from the kind of customer behavior or the customer pattern changing as well. So no longer it's like the same bell curves or the same arrival patterns that we are seeing. It's a very differentiated model. So what can WFM do, or how are we looking at some of that, is by looking at and adopting smart scheduling. It could be leveraging some of these aspects of work from home, where either to split shifts or doing first 4 hours in the morning and then taking a break for the middle part of the next 4 hours, and then coming back and logging for the last 4 hours. It was an unheard of concept, especially when you're coming to a brick and mortar kind of a facility, because you can't really ask your people to log off and go somewhere else and then come back to the office. Unheard of. But all of this is getting some tapped into now. We're looking at unconventional scheduling as well, which means just marrying the supply to the demand, and that would mean doing about 80% of your entire weekly shift hours. You do it in the first 3 or 4 days, and then doing very light kind of numbers in the last remainder of the week. So those kind of models are also something which are coming in, which is why we are shifting from the whole 9 to 5 or the whole fixed shift kind of a model, right? Flexible shifting and smart scheduling is somewhere that it is moving towards, and WFM again is playing a very, very critical role in that. Which brings me to the last point, which is 6 o'clock on the chart. Commercials, absolutely important aspect as well. We've seen an impact on revenue because of how what has happened in the last year and a half, how customers have contacted us, how demand has played a role in the entire piece. Which is why organizations are increasingly looking at managing their commercials in a very strong and acute manner. We're looking at organizations moving to tier 2, 3 cities. We're looking at them also moving to provincial areas as well to get a bang for their buck. Looking at accelerated digitization as well. But the whole focus is towards doing more with less, and that's where I suppose digital WFM. And if you were to just click slide, Shiva, you will just play that. Just understand that digital WFM is playing a central role towards realizing all of this. So by digital WFM, I mean automating the end-to-end WFM service offerings, right from integrated forecasting and AI-based forecasting to robust supply chain models, which is interspersed by digital resource planning, having the entire smart scheduling piece, and then the real-time monitoring was something that was already in play for the whole in a more digitized manner. So if we have the entire paradigm of an end-to-end services of WFM shifting towards and getting adopted in a digital manner, I think a very, very crucial and a very central pivotal role towards this and towards the paradigm that is shifting or has already shifted. Right. So with that, I'll just take a pause, wait for any questions, and if they're more than happy, Shiva, to move towards picking the brains of some of my colleagues over here on the panel.
Yeah, thanks, Avi. With this, I take this honor to invite all the fellow panelists. Welcome back, Nadia. Good to have you again with the great conversation, and audience is awaiting to hear from you. Thank you for having you with us again. Welcome, Nadia. And we're going to invite Nirmalya Sinha, Director WFM from Concentrix. And good to have you, Nirmalya, with us. We're going to have great insights from you. Right. And we have Swapnil. Swapnil is head of Global WFM of Extravia BPS. Good to have you with us, Swapnil. Again.
Thanks for having me.
And we have Siraj, Mohammed Siraj Hassan, Senior Director, Special Projects Planning from Omega Healthcare. Great to have you with us, Siraj. So,
thanks, Siva.
Great. So I think with this, what I request is before we start, request you to just introduce yourself, take a minute to introduce so that let the audience know. Besides, I think you all know well. Some of the audience, may not know. Maybe, we have audience joined from other countries as well, from APAC. Good to have your introduction just for a minute or less than that, as brief as possible. If each one of you could go.
So thanks, Shiva. I think very informative forum. So I'd like to introduce myself. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to the entire WFM fraternity who has logged in today. More from, and I can see almost 90 odd participants, and that gives a boost in terms of how inquisitive you are to understand what is shifting into our world. My name is Nirmalya Sinha. I am Director for WFM for Concentrix, with WFM for close to around 17 to 18 years, and managing all the disciplines of WFM, starting from forecasting to the real-time automations and all those stuff. Presently, I am based out from Bangalore, from the Concentrix. Thank you. Over to you, Swapnil.
Swapnil, yeah.
So I'm going to go last in that queue, but Nirmala, thank you for giving the baton to me. So hi everyone, my name is Swapnil Nagwekar. I head the workforce management practice with Hexaware Technologies, the BPS arm. Been around in WFM for 18 years now, and honestly only done WFM in my life, so that becomes my passion. A great forum to be a part of, actually. The consistency that GWFM organizes this, right, keeps everyone on their toes. The hackathon was just amazing to see all the ideas happening, and again a great forum out here to share our ideas, my views, and also to hear from everyone else on what's happening in the industry, right. Also, it's so good to see people otherwise, because when we are so stuck at home, I personally am missing office a lot. So just to see all colleagues around the globe is just fun. Looking forward to the session. Thanks.
Thanks, Swapnil. Great to have you. Yeah, Siraj.
All right. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon to people who are outside India. My name is Siraj. I work as Senior Director, Workforce Management, Special Projects and Planning. I've been into WFM, like Swapnil said, for the last 18 years plus. I've only done WFM. In my previous stint, I just wanted to attempt something new. In healthcare, I just thought maybe I'll just give it a try. And I jumped into operations for about a very niche skill, and it was really fun because they'll actually give you a 360-degree view of the business, right? So most of the times, workforce management guys, we are part of the planning, and when it comes to execution, we just pass on the buck to the operations to execute this for us. But again, from a 360-degree view standpoint, it was really good to be a part of the operations. And now we understand how ops think when you're in the planning. Started off with the Cytel, IBM, and I worked with the companies like Tata's, and have been instrumental in setting up WFM teams. So a lot of our tools we were, as the journey. All right. So I was just saying that with the change which is happening now, and with the kind of dynamics which are involved, and the kind of shift that is happening, it is much more important for us to start moving away from some of the primitive ways of doing things to a very sophisticated way in the form of automation, tools, technology, which is what we have experienced in the last 1 year. Right? We have seen this happening, and I'm sure this is going to be the new normal. And hoping, people like Swapnil, Nirmal, and Abhishek, and when we start discussing, and then obviously when it's a beautiful learning for us. Even if Nadia can share some of the solutions that are available in the market, which can ease our life, that would be a great experience.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Siraj, for having with us. Nadia, you want to just introduce yourself? I know everyone knows about you, but they want to know more about you.
Yeah, sure. So I'm based in Sydney. It's getting cold here, hence why I had to go put a jumper on. Based in Sydney. So I've been in contact centers for a while. I started out as an agent for Vodafone when Vodafone first started in Australia. And I was an agent for about 3 or 4 years. And then moved into the position of real-time analyst, where you had to go and say, hey, we've been on a call for too long, do you need help or whatever. And did that for a while, and then became a workforce planner for Virgin Mobile and Insurance Australia Group. American Express was a workforce planner there for nearly 4 years. And then eventually moved to NICE as a trainer. So I've been running WFM classes for a couple of years and technical support. And then I went to a different WFM vendor, and then the blue WFM vendor, and then the green WFM vendor, and now I'm back at this one. So my career has been really interesting because it gives me the opportunity to take quite a few different lenses, look at things from an agent perspective, from a planner perspective, and then also from a technical and software perspective. So I can kind of get a really good sense of where people are trying to get to and how we can help them get there. In my role at NICE, I am the WFM Solution Manager for Asia Pacific. And really just what that means is if anyone has a question about WFM in the region and they don't know the answer, is that they just ask me what they need to know. So I do sales overlay and just help obviously NICE sell more WFM, of course, we want to sell, but also help our existing customers get benefit from their WFM solution. So I'm often the first person that people talk to when they're just trying to get a sense of, can NICE help us do, execute on this vision or train us about this particular process, or do we need to buy some more software or different licenses and things like that? So I kind of just am the jack of all trades really for NICE. So that's my story. Been in contact centers and around contact centers for quite a while now.
Great, Nadia. Great to know about you. Thank you so much for being there again. So with this, Avi, you could take it forward.
That's great. Thank you, Shiva. And I'll begin by asking a question that I've asked almost 100 to 1500 times in the last 1 year and a half. Can you guys hear me well?
Yep.
Yeah, that was a question that I almost asked everybody about 1200 times. Right. So, very, very interested and keen to have a conversation with each of you guys, understand how things have unfolded at your end, and how is it that we have aligned frameworks and solutions as well, being in WFM. So without taking order, let me just come first to you, Swapnil, if you don't mind.
Sure.
How bizarre was it for the last year and a half, and when it first started? We come to where the paradigm has shifted to. But if you could just walk us through that journey from a WFM perspective, what did that mean for you guys? So if you could just elaborate on that, please.
Sure. So when you asked me the question, I immediately went to the boardroom meetings we were having last year, especially in India when it started around March, right? And firstly, we didn't believe what's happening. I mean, we were always hearing all the news on televisions about globally what's happening, but it was a very different experience that time. And suddenly we were doing things which we never did before, like asking people to actually go home, pick up your systems and start working from home. And the immediate question was, hey, that applies to us as WFM also. So how we are going to manage the flows, how we are going to have the scheduling meetings done and the capacity planning discussions done. So everything just was out of the box, right? And you never imagine that you will have to really work that way. Especially on the real-time engagement, I remember that we started forming Hangout groups, started forming WhatsApp groups with all the agents being a part. and then suddenly sending out updates on hey, can you take a break? Can you not? So all those kind of things were happening, right? I think after the first 3 months, the idea that this is something that has actually happened with us kind of synced in. And then we kind of settled down in the work from home atmosphere, and then we started saying to us, okay, if this is the new normal, what have to be the things that we need to do or we need to have on hand, right, to kind of really manage everything. Luckily, being a technology company, we are always driven towards automation, technology, and stuff. And I personally kind of believed a lot in the digital WFM engagement that should happen. So at Hexaware, we kind of you can say we were lucky enough to have the thought with us of practicing digital WFM for some time, even before the pandemic happened. So a lot of automation went into reporting, a lot of automation went into planning and stuff. Also, what I also felt was the biggest paradigm shift was from the clients that we were engaging with. Clients who were so used to having complete visibility of all the 1,500 people on the floor at any given point of time. They being stationed at our locations for that. And suddenly, they didn't see anyone on the floor. The entire floor is empty, and they didn't know whom to go out to. So to help them kind of have the visibility constantly was the largest shift that I kind of actually experienced during that time, and it's still on.
Thanks for that. That's a no, and it places me beautifully for the next question as well. But that took me through some of the journeys, and I started remembering some of those the crazy meets and stuff. But it was very nice to see how after realizing that this is here to stay, you guys quickly shifted towards using technology as such. Brings me to my next one, and Nirmal, so if I ask you, how and to what extent did you have to change the WFM frameworks, let's say in your organization, to be able to help out and adapt to normal?
Yeah, so in terms of WFM, right, and as Swapnil said, right, we were suddenly exposed to a situation which we were not even throughout our entire career to, right? And always it says that necessity is the mother of all inventions, right? Unless and until you put into a situation, you will not. In terms of adaptability, now to get the first it tickled that when we had a 2-day lockdown when it announced, and then subsequently that was a kind of a alarm which said that hey, something is coming which we need to be prepared for. So in terms of in terms of changing, right, and so RTA, which is normally used to, right, we all have a framework that RTA is to operate out of a flow, right? Suddenly, RTA moved into a virtual environment where all the interactions were absolutely virtual. Scheduler, the much and more interaction thing that they were supposed to coordinate with operations to take the exceptions, and they also started operating out in a completely virtual environment. So in terms of adaptability, what we did is that the RTA piece, which is more of an interaction piece, and which suddenly moved out and operated out, we created a various communication medium in terms of Teams, in terms of WhatsApp, so the communication channel does not get broken. In terms of alerts, in terms of getting exceptions, in terms of alerting the schedule adherence, right? Ultimately, the detect, analyze, notify, all those things were into a virtual environment. So while we were plotting it, so what we did in terms of adaptability of the new structure, we put RTA, let it operate out in a virtual environment, but let the communication channel be absolutely active. Because what I believe is that throughout the entire this new paradigm, if anything that has worked out, is that how we are very glued onto the 3 C's that I normally says. It is how best you collaborate, how best you calibrate, how best you are connected, right? So because it's an entire virtual environment, so 3 C's matters a lot, right? So RTA operated out, the schedulers and RTA joined hand in terms of getting the exceptions and we created a one single channel as a SPOC concept, single point of contact to get all the feed coming in and then pass it on to the various departments. So that's what, but we are still in, right? Nothing has gone out. But to say that compared to 2020, now we are better placed. And I think my friends will agree to it that we are in a much better place. Those were absolutely sleepless nights. right? How to do, where to get the data, how to put it into an automated platform, right? Data collection was a major issue, right? And we were exposed to it. That's why I think 2021 little bit is like it's a little bit less heavy on us.
Yeah. Yeah, so those days were like, if COVID doesn't get you, sleepless nights would definitely get you, right? So that was the time then. But interesting answer there, and I think some of the frameworks. I suppose the 3 C's that you mentioned, I think they might just be the cornerstone for almost every organization or every single WFM unit as such, right? So they're quite pivotal there. Nirmala. Thanks for that. I'll come to you next, Raj. If you could just tell me in the entire context, right? Communication and employee experience becomes very, very vital, right? So how is it that WF championed some of that experience, the employee experience in your organization, Siraj?
One of the thing, the challenge was at that point of time, especially for ops, right? Because if I have to relate it to a non-voice kind of an environment, maybe in healthcare. So earlier the clients were very particular because of the HIPAA and the PHI, right? The compliance and those are very, very strict, right? So there is no way that we could even attempt or explore to, talk about work from home for a healthcare business. So that is one thing which, once we got the approval from the clients, because we had to take that approval to for the people to work from home. Now, once we decided to work from home, and then we had to deploy machines. The next thing was, how do we ensure that the compliance is met, right? How do we ensure that the PHI of the patient health information is maintained and retained? So those kind of things are a big challenge. Now, once we had a workforce of about 15,000 people. Now we had to send them home, right? There's a mad rush of people, getting those laptops, desktops configured, and then get them connected. And then the next thing was, how do we ensure that the agent's productivity is maintained? Now, for example, if you talk about, we have tools in the form of, okay, all right. So I was just talking about in terms of, monitoring the productivity of our agents. That was one of the most challenging tasks that we had. How do we ensure that the productivity, because it's a non-voice environment, not unlike a typical call center wherein we have a voice and then ACD can track all the what the guy is doing on the phone and so on. But here we have to track it because if somebody is doing medical coding, right, for that guy will be on system, and if we have to track the productivity, that becomes a challenge. Now this is where we were exploring tools, and we had a time management system which we used to apply, which we used to use when we were in office. But that tool was an in-house tool, but that was not giving us more clarity in terms of what exactly that guy is doing, right? And it's not about only being on the computer and punching your time, but it is also important, how do we track the productivity? That was one of the biggest challenge that we had, and we had to explore and then check for a solution in the market. And I think the solution what we explored, Prohance as a tool, that has got it's a very sophisticated time management system tool which can also track the productivity, what the agent is doing, in terms of with all the URLs, how much time he's spending on each of the activity that he's doing. So those kind of things actually helped us. And over a period of time, the team meetings, right? When we have to do the team meetings, that was one challenge. Suddenly people moving from office to home, and then the team leaders, managers, if they have to have their daily huddles. So that became one of the biggest challenge for them, because all of a sudden, if you have to get into a remote environment, it becomes, the effectiveness of the meeting was not was a question here, right? So the only thing that what we had to tell ourselves was like, okay, just imagine that we are spread across 3-4 locations in India. Just imagine that you are managing a team in Chennai, and you are based out of Bangalore. How do you manage a team, your team in Chennai, right? So that's the only thing that we had to think. Okay, just start imagining that you are managing a team exactly the way this guy is working from home, but imagine that this guy is working in some other location, and how you're managing it. So those are things like this WhatsApp group. Suddenly we had this WhatsApp, and then we had Teams, which actually helped us do this team meetings effectively. But again, these are
yeah, thanks.
over a period of time we have evolved. Yeah.
No, brilliant, Suraj. I think and one of the aspects that you pointed out there, which is how do you track productivity from a remote location? I think that singularly could possibly become one of the solved for or the most asked question by this leadership or management to WFM in the last year and a half or something like that, sort, right? I mean, we've evolved in the digital space, and that's the reason why we've been able to be at a much better place now, which brings me to one of the questions that I can ask Nadia on this one, if I could. Um, in your own words, Nadia, there has never been a more disruptive moment, right? So, uh, different aspects is something that clients are requiring. Now, I do know that NICE offers a suite of service offerings and a suite of products. Is it something that the changing paradigm? Is this something that you're seeing that they are now asking for a packaged kind of a solution, or are they looking at bits and pieces, or maybe a side solution which possibly product A or product B or product C can give? Or is it like a
Yeah.
combined ABC?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the use case just given then, where we have a high amount of people who are not logged into an ACD, but we need to manage them like as if they were. This is where we're seeing a lot of our WFM customers now look at desktop analytics, because desktop analytics gathers, first of all, the time spent on different applications, and you map which applications are productive or not. They shouldn't be on Facebook, but they should be on a CRM, for example. And then that feeds WFM, so you can get real-time adherence, whether they're logged into an ACD or not, because we know which applications match to which state on their schedule. If you're open, you should be in CRM, you should be in intranet, you should be in these web pages or these applications, right? So we get real-time adherence, we get productivity, and it integrates to WFM. So we get process volumes and process AHT. So that's been part of one of our bundles. Part of that, bringing that 360-degree view to whether somebody's logged into the phone or not, which we kind of could see. See, the front and the back office from a workforce management perspective, we should have the same level of insight. There might be different unique behaviors, different measures, different service level objectives, but we should be able to know if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And we should be able to know that we're getting 8 hours or 7.5 hours of productivity a day. We may take a different path to get there. So we're seeing a lot of interest come up in that because it's very complementary to WFM, and it gives the WFM team the ability to tap that rich source of data from the desktop and treat them just as if they're, any other agents taking a call. From a services perspective, a lot of demand for NICE services around best practice. With NICE WFM, the WFM itself is already, and it has been for a long time, can do multi-site, multi-geography, multi-time zone scheduling. So for all intents and purposes to NICE WFM, it doesn't matter if the agent's sitting in Sydney or Chennai or Bangalore, we can schedule them the same. But what it is that a lot of the practitioners are used to scheduling in a very, very set way. And now they may need to change the approach, and they're just not quite sure. They might need to start doing like pattern analysis on the schedules. Is this the best fit of schedules now? My operating hours have changed because people are working from home, or people aren't commuting, so the preferences should expand. So we're seeing a lot around that. Is how do I use what I have to be able to manage the change? Because for our customers, let's focus on the contact center front office. There's really no other things to go and buy. You have the tools at your disposal. It's being able to be an experienced user of those tools and change the way that you might forecast or schedule. And some people have only learned a very specific way. And what I find in WFM, also, you'll get big teams where not everyone ever went to training in the first place. So maybe like I trained you and you trained somebody else, and so they just have like a process and they just follow it that way, but they don't really know why they're doing it. And so when we want to start changing and being more strategic, they're a little caught out because they've only known it one very specific way. So definitely desktop is something that's come into play more and more. and also services and consulting on how to guide us through getting more out of what we have, and best practice really about managing a dispersed workforce.
No, excellent. I think that desktop and analytics is going to play a very big and crucial role as such, right? I mean,
Yeah.
originally we do know that integrated ACD integrated platforms is something that we absolutely get everything that we want, but the non-integrated ones is where the struggle lies, and therefore you tend to think that there's no much ROI on those kind of platforms. But I think desktop analytics can now measure the entire shift length and how productive are you in that. So I think that's definitely a good paradigm shift towards how we manage that, right?
It really is. And it's interesting that you bring that up in the context of back office, but even in the context of digital channel management, can I tell you, the majority of my life is spent working out how I'm going to connect WFM to data. And it can be any data, Salesforce data, CRM, it can be live messaging, live chat, all those platforms. So not only just from the employee productivity side, but also from the demand side, we have to now integrate to more channels than ever before. We only see like maybe, I'll go and speak to customers who either don't have an ACD at all, or perhaps maybe 30–40% of demand comes through the ACD now. So, and it's no longer just Avaya and Cisco and that's it. Like, oh my gosh, it's everything under the sun you can imagine. And now we have like the Amazon Connects and all the different, like a whole part of my life is how do we get WFM to have the right data in it so that people can then go and do all these great forecastings and things like that. So it's really important to consider whether they're back office, working from home or not, as part of that managing that shift. And if we focus on the digital element of it, how are you going to get data and what data can you get and how's it going to supply WFM? It's a big challenge.
Absolutely. I think times are anything but dull from here on. Yeah. So that's gonna...
Every week I get, you want to integrate to what? That's something I've never heard of before. Okay, sure, let's try.
Yeah, so coming back to you, Swapnil, and you mentioned that journey and how quickly you started adopting digital technologies and techniques to be able to marry the requirement to the solutioning. Can you just walk us through how easily did you adopt, or what kind of digital technologies I think have you either invested in or just introduced and are looking for resolutions?
Actually, it actually started before the pandemic. So as I said before, by luck, we had this thought process of, how can we digitize as much as possible? And the thought was not to reduce manpower in the team or, any cost aspect, but I always thought, there are too many jobs in WFM which are very redundant in nature. And how can you actually help your team, grow in their own skills? If you take away their redundant jobs, like sending out the daily reports and the alerts and all, they stay where they are, right? And it keeps on happening for ages. So that was the thought actually. So as a practice, we actually have reporting bots deployed across most of our engagements, where the bots take care of the regular reporting that happens, right? Maybe a day-end report, maybe an intraday, maybe an hourly, whatever. So most of the MIs or most of the alert mechanisms is done through the bots that we have. For which what I invested in a small team of actual software developers who could work hand in hand with the WFM team, right? So right from data extraction, right from creating the report, right from sending it out. So all these activities were kind of digitized. And we also thought, instead of being dependent on emails to kind of share information, we started creating these reporting portals for our partners, which had daily reports as well as analytics attached to it, right? So we partner with Zoho Analytics at GWFM for analytics as a platform. So we kind of extended that to the client, saying that, hey, while we'll keep on sending you reports through emails and stuff and Excel files, but any point you want to have a look at how things are going, you have this reporting portal to jump onto. I think that practice really kept us ahead of time when this pandemic actually happened, right? Because while I moved my people to work from home, I didn't have to worry about my boss because they were like sitting in office and still working as though nothing has happened, right? Because machines don't get impacted with anything that happens, only humans that get impacted probably. So the machines were running as they were even before the pandemic. So that's the way we took, and I think we are trying to increase the reach as much as possible into digitization. Through maximizing our reporting through automation, and helping our people to grow in their own skills as well. So today I'm looking at creating analytics as a wing for myself, where the same guys who were creating MIS before have now kind of moved up to the next ladder and now are thinking analytics. So that becomes a career path for them, as well as it kind of helps me manage the entire BCP at any point of time. So that's how we kind of approached it. But as I said, the thought had come to us before the pandemic happened. So the pandemic just really helped us, establish the thought that yes, this is the way to go forward. Digital WFM, as everyone calls it, is the way forward for all of us actually.
Yeah, and I think two interesting points that you mentioned there. One is the early adoption. You could have predicted the pandemic over there, but
Yeah.
serious note, I think early adoption is one of the key points that came away from your preamble. And the other aspect or the other important point that you're saying is the whole move towards analytics, or let's say BI, right? So if you're talking about business intelligence, that's the way to go, because rather let the machines do the labor intensive role of producing the reports, whilst you have your people changing, metamorphizing into taking on the more analytical kind of mindset, right? So if you're analysts, you're trying to develop that kind of mindset. So obviously let the machines do the heavy lifting, and then you understand and analyze the data to check out the kind of trends that it is throwing. So interesting.
If I can just add something on 10 seconds on there, Abhishek. So I also felt that, as a paradigm shift, what is now happening is even the clients are now getting more into analytics, right? They want to know how pre-post COVID is kind of looking like. How has the pandemic impacted their business, right? And this doesn't come out of the normal reports that we are sharing because they are more SLA driven, right? And hence, while the clients are moving to analytics, it is very important that us as WFM take that route, because we are in the best position to kind of analyze and also help our operations as well as the clients, and where the shift is where the area of scope is.
Absolutely. I mean, we spoke about channel shifts. We talk about customer preferences of platforms. Maybe channel hasn't got to be introduced. Are we going to go softer on voice and higher on social media? And I think WFM is the best fraternity to be able to provide that level of insights, because then we have the unique position to be able to provide the customer a steer for their decision making and their strategy. So we are almost feeding into their strategy as well, aren't we? So yeah, like I said, you're very uniquely poised to be able to do that. So great. Nirmala, if I were to just pose the same question to you in terms of early adoption or any kind of digital adoption from previous to now, how was that for you, for yourselves in your organization?
Yeah, in terms of early adoption also, we were testing some of the tools that we were testing. It is not that we were at the plan of moving into a kind of a digital interface, and we were planning in the early of the last quarter of 2019 and 2020. Because of the fact that we need to that our industry is growing at a 7% CAGR in the BPO industry, and if I see a forecast of around 2020 to 2024, the incremental revenue is projected at around 80 billion odd from a BPO industry. So, and do we have to increase the manpower into that space? Maybe the answer is no, right? So what we always have a thought is that how do we digitize the entire workforce, right? And as Nadia claimed that desktop analytics and all, we were already implementing, we're in the verge of implementing of our own desktop analytics tool. And what it comes as, and it's a blessing in disguise that we were onto the testing mode and this thing. What it came into here is that when this pandemic broke, we overnight we developed a kind of a very light version and show that it gets implemented into the agent desktop, and the productivity tracking and everything becomes absolutely on a single interface. The time which we took is that from getting a system for a particular WFM and move them to their home and get the particular tool installed to get the features of the report. So that's the only the time lag which we witnessed at during the first time. Next onward, the now onwards, it is absolutely smooth, whether it is working in office or working into your home, it is absolutely fine. But yeah, right, we do have those productivity tools, as rightly Satya told in, is that we were having a biometric kind of stuff in an earlier environment of a pre-COVID situation. But now, since now it's a desktop analytics, how do we read the productivity? Because most of the tools are onto your back office systems where you need to track the agent productivity and hours. I think that early adoption has helped us. And in terms of downtime, in terms of reporting, it was only 1 or 2 days till the time we implement that particular software into all the agents and get it done. So that's from a adoption perspective.
That's great. Absolutely. So, I mean, early mover advantage is something that you had leverage on as well. So, I think that then becomes the basic secret sauce also. So, I think because you had already thought on that, it has helped you align some of those solutions in very quick time, I must say, and in a very virtual environment as well, which is excellent. That's great. So, thanks, Nirmale. Siraj, how have the conversations now changed with clients, with stakeholders, with internal leadership teams? Because now you're coming to them with all of this digitized solutions, right? And the kind of output that they are giving. We also know that some of the conversations with the clients are now changing from managing my customers and managing my SLAs to actually giving me and partnering me through my entire journey of business outcomes, right? So I want you to partner with me on my business outcomes as such. So how is your WFM unit helping to salvage or maybe partner with some of those kind of discussions with the clients and with the internal stakeholders?
Yeah. So see, one of the most important thing what the client wants is, one, they want the productivity to be maintained and retained. That is one, because they will not compromise on the TAT, and then the quality, right? So these two things are very, very important for the client. Now, productivity, we have the tools to give that confidence to the client that how are you managing the productivity, right? When you move away from office, how are you ensuring that the productivity is maintained? So from that perspective, we just, like I said, as part of the, like most of them say that, invention. Yeah, so I was saying that from a productivity standpoint, these are some of the things, the client would be interested to know as to how we are going to maintain the productivity. So which is what we had to just tell them by way of, showing them the solution, what we have implemented, and then what it does, right? How are we monitoring the productivity, agent productivity? And then from a quality standpoint also, they just want to know how are you maintaining the quality, right? What are those processes that you are implementing over and above the tools? Because here for any client, right, the quality, because our quality is at 98%. So we need to make sure that every charge that we process has to be 98%. Every time, you just need to be out of 100 charts, only you have the error rate of 2%. So from that perspective, we just need to give that confidence to the clients that we'll maintain this 98%. These are the processes that we implement in terms of remote. When we do this remote monitoring, we had to implement some of the tools to make sure that how, like for example, there are some integrated tools in our call center also, which we had to implement to make sure that the quality is tracked, and then we have this calibration sessions, and we have this feedback mechanism in place to make sure that every time the agent does any errors, we follow those processes to make sure everything is on track. So from that perspective, we just had to give that confidence to the clients. So that is when that while initially there were a lot of hiccups, and the clients were not very sure as to how we are going to do that, because they're really worried about the compliance aspect as well. But then that's a new normal, right? We just had to and the client also became quite creative in terms of providing us, like one thing was like desktop as a solution. That is one thing which just came up, and the client wants us to implement that on our machines so that they can take control of our machines, and then that's how we could manage. And the clients are confident, and they have realized that it is a new normal now, And with the new second wave happening in India now, so in the last 6 months, we were planning that, okay, let us get back 80% of the staff back to office by June. But with the new second wave, the second wave happening in India, again, we just had to rush everybody back home. So now, as we speak, I think again we are in the process of going back 95% work from home, right? So with the lockdown in Bangalore today, I think that became one of the things. Again, the client was a little nervous about this whole stuff, but yeah, they have seen that in the past how we have performed and what are the measures that we have done, and there's a lot of learning and best practices that we can implement and make sure that the client is getting what they want.
Yeah, quite interesting. And it is this, the best practices that you mentioned, the kind of solutioning that we've done over the last cycle, if I may, which has led the client to gain confidence that this time around, when we're again going into that kind of a situation, doesn't matter. I think the WFM team is well equipped to just handle it and just make sure that my service delivery doesn't suffer. Right. So quite interesting, Suraj. Thanks for that. We spoke about, Nadia, and I'm just going to come to you. We spoke about how some of these conversations are changing, how the clients now want a lot of strategy and a lot of inputs, a lot of insights, intelligence coming from our end as well, and helping them decipher this code that has come up, right? And how do you break the entire customer pattern change code as such? You spoke about that consultative wing that you guys have, right? So do you see that narrative changing? Do you see that particular fabric evolving and that becoming the mainstay of the business? And if yes, how are those conversations changing from the previous?
Yeah, it's not probably not the mainstay of our business. It's a very critical part of it, but we are a software vendor at heart, and that's first and foremost what we do is sell great software. But it certainly is something that we're finding customers are more receptive to. We traditionally, when you present a proposal to a customer, they always look at training or consulting. Too expensive. We don't need it. We don't need it. And it's one of the first things that they want to take out. Take it out. We don't need it. We know what we're doing. And so seeing a lot more now where they are far more receptive to the idea. They understand the value that it brings. And when you can say to them, actually, you already have the tools, you really just aren't quite using them where you could drive the most effectiveness, that also resonates really well. So it's definitely a focal point of our offering. It's a real, I think NICE has won a bunch of professional services awards for the people that we have and the expertise that we have in the APAC region. So they are a critical component to ensuring that people get success from the software. And yeah, I think the change has been so significant that people are like, show us, tell us, guide us. We want to be told, best practice or center of excellence model, and that's where we can step in and help.
Excellent. Just staying with you, Nadia, and not mean to put you in a spotlight, but you kept talking about, the cloud technology. We also seen some of this getting, the kind of cornerstone of some of the solutioning today from all the digital companies that we have across your entire experience, where you mentioned that you were, moving from being one vendor to another vendor to a third vendor across all. That shift in the industry where everything is getting cloud-based, and is that here to stay, and is that the future now?
Oh, it's definitely here to stay. I think if you do start looking at things like the total cost of ownership, it just doesn't stack up. Even like from a product development perspective, like there will be just new things that come that are available to customers who are in the cloud. I mean, NICE is a cloud-first company. We have a cloudification strategy. We are committed to cloud. Our CX1 telephony is cloud DNA. So while we're still respectful of customers who need to be on-premise, and some of them need to be for different reasons, I'm seeing more and more new expansions and add-ons and development. Oh, this is for cloud customers only. It's not available for premise. And so that's just the way of the future, I think. And everything we do even ourselves as consumers in our lives is in the cloud, right? Our photos, our music, everything comes from there. So it has been a bit of a trajectory. It's been interesting actually to see premise vendors try and become SaaS, because they're not right. There's a years of evolution that has to, from the way the product is designed to the way companies bill you to licensing models. All this needs to be refactored to become a true SaaS provider. So that does take time, and sometimes it's interesting behind the scenes seeing all that evolve. But yeah, it's definitely here to stay. It just makes our life easier. It makes servicing our customers easier, and a lot more customers now are trusting of the cloud. They're happy to say, actually, host it. If it goes down, I know what my service level penalties are going to be. I don't need to worry about upgrades. I don't need to worry about, packaging software and all this sort of stuff. I don't need to. It's all done, and people like that. So I think they are also getting more mature about cloud. And although can I tell you, like, the security that we have to go through at certain customers is unbelievable. Like for banks, to get a cloud install in at a bank or a financial institution is a lot of hoops to jump through, and normally we make it through all of them. So I think we're more mature, the market's more mature in Australia in particular, and more so in India. If someone comes to me and says WFM, I want WFM, I assume they're talking about cloud. Unless I get a few meetings in and they say we have to be premise, that's what it is, it's cloud. And that will become more and more the thinking. Unless you tell me otherwise, why wouldn't you be in the cloud? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see on-prem winning against cloud in any kind of a conversation or any kind of thing. So
yeah, occasionally we get people who still have to. That's just the way they are, particularly around whether there's a data center nearby or whatever it might be. But definitely we see, just give us a cloud proposal and we'll work it out. Yeah.
And Nadia, just sorry, I'm just intrigued at this now. So you saw the different kind of strategies that the customers are coming up with. We also see the kind of the way that this entire period has treated each of those customers, and which is why the strategies change, or some of their adaptability to change has manifested some of the decisions that they're making. Do you see a lot of customization requests coming your way to adapt your products to a certain way that can maximize benefits for them?
We always get requests for customization. The biggest ones around, and it was mentioned previously about business BI and data. So we actually have a new custom report tool. See, this is something else now. It's available to cloud customers only, where they'll be able to create their own custom reports in Nice WFM through the web station, accessing hundreds of data points. So we have a lot of people who need access to data and want to do their own thing with it, and I see that a lot. So definitely that's comes up, and we've addressed that, and it's available in the market now where people can create their own reports in Nice WFM.
That's great. Thanks, Nadia. Back to Swapnil. We've gone through the entire journey. You did talk about the early adoption, and then how your solutions are coming up as well, one after the other. One of the key things now is about how do we equip our people, isn't it? And we've got people who have been in this industry for a long time now. We'll have double-digit tenures as well. Not people who are ready to change, but like I said, it is extremely important and poignant that digital enablement is not something like a good to have now. It is table stakes, right? Now, in that, how are you looking to equip your people on the new age technologies? How are you getting them to adopt the latest digital solutions? How are you training them?
So honestly, this is the only aspect where I like the work from home concept, right? Because what it has done is it has kind of opened up a lot of avenues for people to do a lot of self trainings that were not available before, right? I mean, well, we all were in office, days just passed by and you only had weekends for yourself. But now that people work from home, right, they have more space for themselves to think and ask themselves, where am I today and what I want to do, right? So as a goal or as a practice, I am surely pushing my team to explore all the possible trainings that are available. may it be technologically based, may it be qualitatively based, may it be through a Six Sigma background, because I personally also believe that WFM and Sigma are two very good concepts to kind of merge with each other. So if you, even if you're not a black belt or a master black belt, but if you at least understand the concepts of Six Sigma at a very basic level, it helps your thought process when it comes to WFM, because again, you're trying to deliver things at a particular quality of work, right? So as I said, while everything else is moving to digital or digitization, it is very important to promote your teams to kind of start and get a lot of self learning time to themselves. It can be within WFM or outside WFM, that doesn't matter, right? Because a lot of people have a very keen interest in when it comes to technology, analytical platforms, automation, RPA. And all of these kind of can then get back into WFM, right? I mean, I'm seeing a lot of engagement on RPA, WFM, and people talking about AI and machine learning and stuff. So it is very good to have yourself upgraded with this information so that you understand where can this be applied. And that's what I think all teams should now invest into. While you have some time on your hands and the culture has changed, how do you bring across self-learning as a practice will really guide all the teams further.
Sure, cool. Thanks, Swapnil. There is no escaping from this, right? So,
yeah,
absolutely. Nirmalai, what is, according to you, the new age characteristics or maybe traits, the kind of skill sets that a WFM resource now needs? Because I see that completely moving that, I just do one service, not possible. I do only one or maybe two services of WFM, not possible. I mean, things are getting digitized, and that has a bit of a bearing on how things are getting done and how much a person do, especially with one skill set only and not open to learning, right? So according to you, what are the kind of skill sets and mindsets that the new age WFM resource needs to have now?
Yeah, so that's a nice question, Abhishek. So what I feel is that it is not only a paradigm shift in terms of your operating environment. One needs to have a paradigm shift in terms of mindset as well, right? All this while, right, we were exposed to a situation where RTA used to do an RTA job, scheduler used to do a scheduler job, cap planning and this, right? And then there was very minimal interference of digitized interference in these areas. What it is coming in the coming future is that how we move WFM into an automated platform. Does that warrant that WFM will not require this particular skill set and we move into a development environment? The answer is no. What it is required is that each and every WFM should have an inclination of learning apart from their domain to other domains as well, right? So that we take the benefit of your multi-skilling, and one should be absolutely inquisitive to learn more and more. It is not that, okay, I am doing RT, I am monitoring the service level, I will do that. It is not that, right? As Swapnil said, that there are a lot of activities in WFM which is a repetitive in nature, that does not warrant for a human workforce to be deployed. Right? What is required is that how I can do more and how I can do more and more value added, more and more analytics. So if I have to say that what is coming into your new future for WFM is that how today in the pre-COVID scenario, we were churning the data in all spaces, right? We were taking the data, we were churning the data. What it is required is that how are we interpreting the data, interpretation of the data, what the data speaks out, right? What is it for the business? How can I make a useful decision which will help business to grow further, right? So that is a transformation shift, that from a data acquisition, because acquisition is now moving into a digitized platform, to a data learning, data interpretation is what it is in store for the future.
That's great. Thanks, Nirmalai. I think you hit all the points.
Siva, we are here. I think Abhishek just had a challenge at his end.
Yes. While he's back, Taraf will just take this opportunity to invite questions. I know that we are exceeded. Since now we have a very captive audience and quickly request all the audience to ask your questions if you have any questions to any of the panelists or to any of them. Feel free to ask your question, and you can type your questions here down, or you can raise your hand there. So I see that Yogesh's hand again. Let me unmute Yogesh. Yes, Yogesh.
Hi, this is Yogesh here. Very interesting discussion, and thanks all panelists for making it so interesting and insightful. I have a quick question on the contractual part with the end customer, especially for BPOs, where probably so far traditionally we see the contracts majorly being FTE based or some kind of hour based or SLA based, etc. So do you think this pandemic has changed anything with respect to contracting terms with your end customers? Is my question.
So, Jogesh, if I have to go first, right? In terms of specifically that for the seasonal business, right? And if I have to speak from our organization, seasonal business where we have a spike for 2 to 3 months, we used to deploy contractual staff because we need not have to carry that overhead cost to the end. So from an employment strategy perspective for the seasonal business, right? The contractual staff was there and is there as well. So there is nothing changes from a staffing strategy perspective. Because the seasonal business, the seasonality in the business, the cyclicity of the business still remains.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Nirmalia. What my question primarily was to do with the, for example, the contract is FTE based. FTE based means how many people you will have, etc. And the end customer will pay based on those FTEs, etc. So my only question was, has anything changed from that perspective with your end customer looking at the new pandemic? So your answer is no, is it?
No, nothing has changed. Maybe in the coming terms, in the coming days, maybe we right now, since there is most of this, it is moving into at-home infrastructure, right? At Satya told, right, at a globally we're seeing that 70% of is moving into a at-home infrastructure, 30 is that. So there may be an offer which is coming in our way, kind of a gain share because our infrastructure cost is getting reduced. Right? That is happening. But in days to come, that may come.
Absolutely. I think that is what even I have heard from people talking that way, because now productivity, as everyone mentions, is a very important aspect to measure because people moving to home and the infrastructure, etc. So I don't know. I mean, maybe a perspective of the client to look at, right? So
yeah, it's too
early. We are going in that direction. Now, I think I can just add a bit there. So we are actually going in the direction, right? Most of our clients, when we propose them for a work from home, right? So what happens for the companies today, right? If they work from home, obviously we are cutting down on the overhead cost, right? So obviously there'll be savings, but somewhere the client deliverables are also being compromised. So we don't. I'm sure with the way things are changing, the client will also feel that somewhere. Even when we talk about 98% of accuracy or quality, there is always this 2% which the client is also picking up today. So they are, when we are proposing them, okay, this is some of the things, tomorrow if we decide to move away from a 100% work from office to a 80% work from office kind of a model, then obviously the 20% staff that we're talking about, there is always a risk for the clients. So the clients are going in the direction and they're asking what is in there for me. Right, so that what is in there for me can be one. Okay, we can just always tell them from a BCP standpoint, we are just de-risking 20% of your staff. Tomorrow, if there is any such pandemic kind of a situation, we can always have the 20% staff. We're giving you at least 20% uptime, unlike last year. And then the next thing would be, what am I getting from a discount standpoint, right? Because if I am FTE based, right, you are charging me, but you're not producing those many charts. So now they are just kind of either they are moving away from an FTE based model to a transaction based model, wherein I'll pay you per transaction, or they're just trying to club this together and say, okay, this is the FTE, this is my production. For example, if I have to do 40 transaction per day per agent, this is how it is. If you are able to do 40, I'm going to calculate you as per the production. So they're just trying to club this together and come up with a hybrid model, so to say, so that both are protected.
Yeah, that's exactly
most
was my
clients, most of the clients are going in the direction, and we have done some amendments for some of the clients also when we added this work from home as a clause in the contracts, right? Because which was never there. I mean, in healthcare, clients are very particular. They never give us permission to work from home. Now with this being added, I think this component is also getting added into the contracts. We are going there.
I think the other trend that I've seen is clients, while the commercial models haven't changed, I think the clients have become a little more conscious about protecting their volumes and becoming more protective about, looking at how well are we planning? I mean, do we have enough staff? Is there anything that they can do to support it? Right from an ID management standpoint to, giving electronic tokens for people to log in so that they can work remotely. Those kind of things are becoming a little more important for them, because it's not just about the commercial model, right? That now you become a little more cost conscious and you can cut down on your operating cost. But it is also about, do you have staff? Do you have all those necessary stuff, things to ensure that you can stay productive uh, and drive efficiency there then. So I think those are the things which are becoming a little more. We've seen, especially in RFPs, the clients are coming and asking a lot more details about, how much flexibility do you maintain in your staffing? Are you going to be hiring part-timers? Do I need to pay additional for part-time training if I change my forecast within the 90-day period? Then do you have to hire more? Do I need to give you a little more? Those kind of questions is something that I've seen come up a little more recently.
Yeah, right. Right. So
Yeah, we have a next question.
That's very important. Thank you. Very helpful.
Thanks, Yogesh. So while we have Satya back, and there's a question from Rajesh. How did the productivity get affected in a work from home situation? Can you have your thoughts?
Absolutely. A very, very important point. And I think, we'll see a mixed feedback from different people because of the type of channel and the kind of support you are providing. Also from the geography that you are providing that support from. For an evolved geography like a US or anywhere in North America, Canada or US, or if you're looking at Europe, your productivity losses because of the usual issues that you see in Asian countries, like your power outages, your bandwidth to manage your old school CRMs from the clients, which are extremely heavy, and you're running 4 to 5 different applications at any given point of time. So those challenges have come in some of countries like Philippines, India, Jamaica. You'll find those kind of challenges there, which has kind of if I get to the root of it, it has kind of increased your handle time. Your time to manage a transaction has gone up in some cases, but at the same time you'll see your tardy issues have come down. You're home. You're not getting stuck in traffic anymore. So saving a lot of time. Because you're saving that 1.5 2 hours a day, it is also giving a little more flexibility to play around with people's breaks, or giving them shifts which you could have started slightly earlier than you could not have done, because you have to give certain amount of time between shifts now. So those kind of things have helped. I would say your shrink has come down, but the time to manage a transaction in some cases has increased slightly. So overall, I would say it's a net give and take the same amount. I would rather say slightly on a benefit from a staffing standpoint. I would that's what my observation would be.
Yeah, and on the productivity
No,
front,
I also agree with Satya, right? His observation that it depends on the channel on which you are operating and the infrastructure. Second, your shrinkages have come down over a period, right, onto this. So net, I think that what is to the misnomer kind of time that at home we'll have a productivity loss, because there are benefits in terms of shrinkages, and the net, I don't say that there is a loss in terms of hours. The handle time must have increased. That is right.
One thing I can add, because some of the companies, we are operating from tier 2 cities, right? So the challenge with tier 2 cities is the power cuts. So now when we are deploying laptops, it is fine, but most of the companies, in our company, if you ask me, 50% is desktops again, right? We deploy desktops to the guys, and they are not privileged enough to have the they cannot have an inverter at home, right? So power cuts is one thing which, even if that can, again, it depends and on the agent behavior also. If he says, okay, when the team leader is calling the agent, he says, where are you? There is no power at home, right? So that is something that we cannot even validate this. Most of the times, we lose about 20 minutes, 30 minutes on the production hours, maybe no fault of the agent, right? So from that perspective, we are thinking, but it is the cost. Like, we will have to invest heavily if we have to provide a inverter to every individual when we're deploying machines at their residence. So from a production standpoint, I have seen the pattern is that, because we have to incentivize people to meet their production numbers. While doing that, when we look at their logged in time, these guys, I'm talking more from a non-voice kind of an environment, wherein the guys, we can see the logged in time is almost exceeding 10 hours, right? When the total staff time is supposed to be 9 hours with 1 hour break and lunch, it is going up to 10 hours. Yeah, they're at home, they are compensating in the end, but again, we could definitely see that there is a loss in the production if we don't exceed the login hours.
In our organization, what we have started is that based on channel on which they operate, we have started providing the UPS with the higher duration of your backup, right? Because for the voice, right, if it goes off, so we have started providing those UPS with the various power backups hours in terms of the channels that they operate.
And I think interestingly, this is actually influencing the previous question. Sorry, sir.
Good, Swapnil. Yeah.
So I was just saying that what we're discussing now is actually influencing the model that the client now is looking at, right? Because I think everyone understands that giving those continuous hours the way we were giving in office is probably not happening now. And hence, instead of expecting hours, the clients are now saying, okay, you give me 100 transactions in a day, you give me on a spread of 6 hours or 12 hours, that doesn't matter. As long as you give me those 100 transactions, I'm pretty happy. So this point is actually influencing the previous question, which I think Yogesh had around the modeling of the business now. And I think that will continue to happen also.
So we have the next question. Next question is all about how to control contingent workforce as due to pandemic. Every organization is looking for contingent workforce. Did anyone pick up that? Question is how to control contingent workforce as due to pandemic. Every organization is looking for contingent workforce to hire. How do you really control, work from home scenario? What is the solution that how we should do? There's a question from Jaydeep Mehta.
So if I have to take a shot at it, surely you need a tool, right? If you don't have one, you need a tool which can kind of tell you what's happening at the other end, right? I know it's very difficult to kind of manage that unless you really have something like a NICE or IEX or any other tool which is integrated to your ACD. But otherwise, if you don't have anything, there has to be a time tracking mechanism or a tool deployed for sure. And then you have to follow and keep an eye on the trend of performance, right? Because the tools which are not connected are very dependent on how the inputs go into the tools. So more than deploying the tool, the post work that you do is very important. How do you monitor? How do you ensure that the constant feedback goes back to those people who are probably not finishing the hours and so more than real-time management, your input on how these hours are getting generated, are they as per your plan, and are people using the tool to the best possible solution is something that you should look forward to. In current times, that's the best way that you can control your workforce actually. a constant monitoring of performance is something that you have to look at.
Yeah, I think if I was just to add to that, Shiva, I think the biggest problem that we might have is where we go blind, right? So we need to be just careful that we are not blinded in any part of the business today. It's across the board, and people are working from tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities. People have gone back to their hometowns, working from there. If even if we have a contingent workforce or if we have a continual workforce as well, it always depends on how good a governance or how good are we at monitoring them. Do we have eyes on them and we see them performance? Because what doesn't get measured doesn't get done, right? So ought to have your tools in place. You ought to be able to monitor performance, and you're able to hit all the metrics and data against those metrics that you're tracking as an organization. So that I feel is really important. As long as you're able to capture some of that, you will always take corrective actions, right? You will always have the kind of challenges that are coming now from a workforce or a work from home kind of an environment. But as long as you equip your frontline to be able to capture information across all the employee base that you have, I think.
Yes, some of the new technologies are also coming in. Just to add to what Abhishek said, right? I mean, control, equipping your workforce. I think new technologies like Tetherfy or Shepherds, all these are coming in to provide more support to your and control and monitor your frontliners. From a compliance standpoint, from a security and other aspects as well. So all those things are coming in. That is also leading into a new workload work type which is getting created to look at creating a command center for monitoring agents, which is based on several different actions that an agent may end up taking, which could be a refraction, right? In terms of a compliance, whether it is facial recognition or an action that he's taking, touching his mobile and things like that. So you'll see that a new type of command center is also getting initiated now to ensure that agents are staying productive, because any refraction would end up into a locking of their system, and that would end up into your productivity leakages.
Yeah. So like Satya, we are trying, like you say, a small command center kind of stuff, not only with workforce, but it will have a representative from delivery as well, it has quality as well, so that anything that comes up, it gets addressed on that and collaboratively within this.
I think we should conclude this session. Abhi, you have to have like just few words from each one of you, so we'll be able to close this session. And yeah, or summarize, Abhi.
I'll just summarize by saying I think coming at the heels of the WFM Hackathon event, I think this has really been a wonderful opportunity for getting all the good bright minds together and having a conversation with them. I mean, it really helped me gain a lot of insights. I really had a good time interacting with every single person here. And you keeping yourself and your team really busy with WFM Hackathon, and then each of the chapters unfolding across all the geographies, Shiva. But keep doing this. I think it's a phenomenal effort to get the entire WFM fraternity together and be able to just brainstorm in these kind of forums, or even if you just clash your brains with fellow colleagues from this industry, is a wonderful opportunity for everyone. And I think I echo the sentiment of the overall WFM unit as such across and the WFM sector. So thanks for creating these platforms, and thanks for providing these kind of opportunities where we all can come together and talk about the current WFM problems, challenges, and how is it that we can all come together in aligning some solutions in the future. So it's a wonderful platform, and it's a great work that you and your team is doing, Dr. Shiva. So thank you very much for this.
Thanks, Abhi, for the nice words. And we wouldn't have got into this platform without a nice and this biased technology, networks. It's really great having you, Satya, Nidya, Nirmalya, and Siraj. Siraj and Nirmal, if you want to just have a few words before we wind up.
No, I echo what Abhishek has said. right? Earlier, we hardly got a platform where such kind of interactions we used to have across the WFM fraternity. Right? Posing so many thanks to you, Shiva, for setting up this platform. Earlier, now there's a platform we know where we can interact. Right? So I really appreciate the passion you bring onto the table in conducting hackathon quizzes like this, audience kind of discussions. And not only that, right? Earlier, what it used to happen is that the confinement of WFM thought process used to be at that organization itself, right? GWFM has given us a platform where that confinement moves across, right? We have Abhishek, we have Siraj, right? We have Swapnil across where all the minds are coming together and discussing an issue. We have Satya discussing, and this is a problem that is across. So I think thanks to you, Shiva, for conducting, and thanks to all the panelists for their enriching thought process. I think I personally have learned more, right? And hats off, right? And we will looking forward to such kind of interactions more.
Thank you so much, Suraj.
Yeah, Siva, I would like to remember 3 years back when we met. You're still not doctor at that point of time. You're doing a PhD. So, Dr. Siva, today, great, your passion. I was in WFM for a very long time. Like I said, I never thought of doing PhD in WFM at that point of time. You were kind of pursuing PhD. So I was like very fascinated when we were sharing ideas with you. And I still remember when you started talking about this WFM. We started off with HR, and then the WFM, actual WFM is the call center WFM, wherein you get to know about this planning, the real time, the command centers, the forecasting schedule, and so on. So it's come a long way, I must tell you, from what we were. I still remember a couple of sessions. A couple of times we met in some of the colleges, and then after this, it has been like great journey for you, and I'm sure many leaders who are bringing you're bringing all the global leaders, WFM leaders, business leaders in one platform. It's an achievement in itself, I must say. It's not an easy job to do. You need to be passionate, committed to do all these things, because if you ask me, I may not be able to do this what you're doing. So great job. Thanks to you for getting all together, and then we've been sharing so much of learning that I had today as well. As we go along, obviously the business is changing, a lot of dynamics, and with this change in the business, obviously we get so much to learn. And thanks to you.
Thanks, Siraj, for very nice words. Thanks, Isabel. I think Swapnil has left. I think we have exceeded the time. However, we had very meaningful discussions and very well thought insights from each galaxy of the speakers. Truly great privilege hosting again with you people. And thanks, Sabi, for taking your time out, curating the content, and doing last minute. I think we are used to this now. Right? So this is normal. Anything
Yeah.
and anything that we can speak, and anything can be curated in no time. We are seasoned WFM leaders. Thank you so much for taking your time out for GWFM event, and thanks, Nice and VIS networks. Truly great event. Trust me. Besides the situation in India, and also like in few of the other place, we got 300 registrations. Okay, and we see that like around 200 of them have attended. Okay, around 150 on an average would joined us, and then just logged in and logged off. See that still I see that around 50 people hanging around with us. It's really great. You see that kind of value that bringing onto the table, and it's really great having the audience with us. Thank you so much. With this, we close, and looking forward to connecting with each one of you. And please join us on our social media to get connected, and let's get connected. And I see there's a couple of more questions. I'll come back to the audience with your answers from the speakers. Okay. With this, thank you so much for having attended this event. It's really a great event, and take care, and stay safe. Take care of your mental and physical health. We're looking forward to